I'd like to call the meeting to order. Did you take it?
Mrs. Lefkowitz. Here. Mrs. Butler. Here. Mrs. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Beat.
Here.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
I'll move.
I will second.
Any discussions? Okay, roll please. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Okay. Jackie, oh, I'm sorry. Next. Yeah.
So we did approval of the agenda.
Yes. Second and no discussion.
Okay. Mrs. Lefkowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Beat.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes. Can I get approval for the, or I'm sorry, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the work session in October and the regular meeting in October?
Moved.
I'll second. Discussion? Will you take roll please?
Mrs. Lefkowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Beat.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes. Right, public participation. This is on the annexation, so, wait, as part of the discussion that we have on the agenda,
And you know it's on the agenda.
you did kind of, I mean, 'cause we're gonna be talking about the.
Come on. Yeah, you're normal. Good evening, my name's Jeff Morford, Miami County, Bethel Township. I am here not as a parent of a Bethel student, but as a longtime resident of Bethel Township, 50+ years. All schools and communities have difficulties and issues. Over the past 20 years, Bethel School and Bethel Township has had more than their fair share. Bethel School has doubled in size over the last 10 years and will continue to grow at a blistering pace, with a vast majority of student population coming from the Huber Heights annexations and developments. Approved by Huber Heights and the developers' use of Huber's high-density zoning. Zoning not allowed by Bethel Township regulations. Approved by Huber Heights City Council. A city council that is not accountable to the Bethel citizens. We did not elect them to be our representatives. We cannot vote them out of office if we disagree with their actions. We cannot sign a referendum petition to object to their vote. Yet by default, they are representing us, making decisions that will affect our community forever. I call for no annexation without representation. I might have my own personal views when it comes to annexation and developments, as each citizen can and should have their own opinion. I ask that all citizens, those in Huber Heights and those in Bethel Township, have the opportunity to consider the annexation developments, individually rationalize the good and the bad, and make a decision that would be good for their family and their future. With the annexation request needing approval from both the township and the city residents to move forward. You can be for annexation, development, growth, urbanization, or you can be in favor of rural lifestyle, wanting to maintain and preserve a rural way of life. But in the end, all citizens deserve and should have the right to be part of that decision-making process. I'm not against all annexations. What I am against is that all citizens of both communities don't have equal rights. I would go far as suggesting that the annexation laws are discriminatory in nature and violate our civil liberties. Just a definition of discrimination on Wikipedia. Discrimination is the process of making unfair or prejudicial distinctions between people based on groups, classes, or other categories to which they belong. It involves depriving members of one group of opportunities or privileges that are available to members of the other groups. We, the residents in Bethel Township, in fact, all citizens living in townships across the state, we pay our taxes and share the same rights and privileges as those citizens living in cities. A side note, there are 1,308 townships in Ohio. The population of Ohio is approximately 12 million. Approximately 1/3 of Ohio's citizens live in townships. Yet, when it comes to making decisions regarding annexations, cities have the ultimate decision. Townships have no say, no representative, no vote. A few years ago, there was an annexation proposed west of New Carlisle, 100 acres, 300 houses. New Carlisle is located in Clark County. The property is located in Miami County, Bethel Township, and the students would have attended Bethel local schools. Many Bethel residents attended those city council meetings, speaking against the annexation for traffic reasons, school reasons, environmental reasons, and water runoff reasons. Luckily, the New Carlisle City Council decided to be good neighbors and vote no. I would like to add that there was a group of Bethel Township residents that banded together, preparing a referendum petition, anticipating the New Carlisle City Council voting yes. In a small city like New Carlisle, their governing structure is not as sophisticated as Huber Heights. Huber has rules in place that do not allow for outsider referendum filings. A group of 5 Huber residents have to form a PAC, Political Action Committee, to be able to file and circulate a referendum petition. But as in New Carlisle and in cities across the state, if you are an adult registered voter, you can circulate a referendum petition, but you still cannot sign to be counted unless you are a resident of that city. I believe the New Carlisle annexation is just on hold. That developer or another developer could start that process all over again at any time, possibly with different results. Just as continuing annexations in the Huber area are sure to come, and who knows, Tip City, the city of Vandalia, could be areas of concern also. Again, with students attending Bethel schools. Over the last 2 years, I've attended a few Bethel school board meetings held in the gymnasium, with maybe 70 or 80 parents attending. Many took the time to speak about many very important issues affecting Bethel schools. Many of these issues exacerbated by the student population explosion directly associated with past annexation and developments. Over the last 2 years, I've attended 90% of the Huber Heights City Council meetings, seeing many of your parents, a few students, and many residents of the Bethel Township. All came to speak against the annexation development for a multitude of reasons. After the Huber Heights City Council voted to accept the annexation petition, a small group of Huber residents attempted to go through the complicated and very difficult referendum process. Not enough signatures were collected and the petition failed. I consider the effort successful. In 4 days, over 1,200 signatures were collected by a small group of 10 to 15 concerned citizens from both Huber and Bethel. 2,300 signatures were needed to be put it on the ballot, where I believe was our best chance to stop the annexation. Sadly, we failed as a community. With all the talk, with all the objections, it was only words. When it was time to go to work and get the job done, Bethel residents might have voiced support, but they did not physically step up. Over the next 20 years, Bethel residents will complain about problems associated with these unwanted annexations. The latest being 300 acres and 1,400 houses. But we have no one to blame but ourselves. We had an opportunity to do something and we didn't even try. If that was our best effort, it is a sad testament to who we are. If the 100 concerned parents attending Bethel school board meetings, along with 100 Bethel Township citizens attending the Huber Heights City Council meetings, would have taken the time to circulate the referendum petition, collecting just 10 signatures each, the referendum petition would have been very successful. And the annexation would have been on the ballot, would have gone to the voters of Huber, and I believe the results would have been different. So now this last Huber annexation is over, but please believe me, Bethel Township is still a target of developers. Every successful annexation sets a precedent as an example to other developers, showing them the door is open. Come on in. The residents don't have the grit or determination to fight us. We need to stay focused. We need to think of ways to protect ourselves. 2, 4, 6 years down the road, if we do not work to change the law and get the laws amended, nothing will change. The results will continue to be the same. The developers consider township objections just a minor inconvenience. After all is said and done, the landowners, developers, cities are enjoying preferential treatment. They know the current laws are on their side, and they will say over and over again, townships, just get out of the way, we're coming through, and there's nothing you can do about it. Please work together to change the outcome of the next annexation. Work to level the playing field. So when we are confronted with the next annexation wave, or our children are confronted with unwanted annexations, they have some legal ground to stand on. Now is the time to act, not after the fact. Please get involved. Please stay involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yes. All right, now the superintendent's report.
You want more?
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Well, good evening, Superintendent's report. I'm going to start with a transportation update. I see Jacob and Kathy in the audience, so welcome. We are at a point now with our transportation that first I want to thank the board for their support, and I want to thank the community for their patience. For the first time in over 5 years, we've eliminated all double routes. So, nice job. Yeah, the kids get to school on time. They don't get there early. They don't get there late. They get there on time. And now when we go home, we're getting home almost an hour earlier, 50 minutes today.
Nice.
Earlier. So
Well done, well done.
it was, like I said, we've talked about this, you know, when I got here, Jake got here, Kathy, Jake and I spent a lot of time trying to prioritize and figure all this out. So, but the boards that have shown us a lot of support too. We've got software, we'll just get better from here on out. So we actually have software now. And so it's exciting. Like I said, first time in 5 years, we have over 5 years, we have not had double routes, and it's a bigger deal than what a lot of people see, because like, you know, like I was telling Jacob earlier, we now have kids, instead of getting to school early and sitting, and then other people covering and things like that. Now, you know, teachers can, they can plan and do what they need to do. Kids aren't, that they're sitting, waiting for school to start when they get their school started. They're not sitting after school, you know, for 45 minutes, and they can leave and get home. So that's exciting. We worked hard on that, and to the transportation department, all the drivers, everybody, the aides, I thank you. It's been it was a little difficult at times, Jacob, but we got through it. Because there's a lot of, I mean, what people don't see, there's so many other routes, right? Midday routes, special ed routes, so many routes that are involved. It's just not the routes here. So anyway, it was good. It's good to be able to say that. And so I appreciate that. So thank you. Inspection, staying on the transportation, just as an FYI, I expected this to happen, but all our buses passed inspection. So I just want to keep you updated on that. Just a quick facilities planning update. You know, we met, FMD did a presentation a while back for you all. They've got the prints. They're going to look at space we can utilize, the educational side of it from a planning standpoint. We're going to start to work with them. We're starting to have meetings over Thanksgiving, and I'll involve everybody come December. We've got some meetings on December 3rd, December 4th with that. And also the strategic plan. We were going to start to develop the strategic plan this year. You know, there's a lot of, you know, facilities obviously is part of the strategic plan. The strategic plan is a living document that we will work on together with community, community members, board, my staff. You know, we'll be on that. The goal, I've done these before, the goal is for this document to drive decision making, right? It's a document that's good for the district and good for kids, good for the community. And there's a lot of thought that goes into it. You know, there's a lot of meetings that go into it, you know, over the course of time. So we will get that started as well. That's the larger strategic plan. That's the larger document, and all these other things fit into it. So it's a good process. I've always enjoyed it. You know, you don't have to come to all the meetings. what you choose to. But, I will also be looking for some support from the community members as well, to help with that, so. So, yeah, so it's, so that's where we're at with that. It's a quick update, the big thing I just want people to know about was, the transportation. We bought buses, we've expanded our staff, and I know everybody's pitched in and driven when they needed to, so that part was good. So with that, I would like to go on to student recognition. We've got Julie, right? Okay, so you're the only one here, aren't you? Okay. So I'm going to start with Julie because so Julie Sprague was she was Division IV All-Team Ohio in girls soccer, and she was also Three Rivers Conference 2024 Girls Varsity Soccer Player of the Year. So that's impressive. So come on up. Enjoy the honey. So here's certificate sign, congrats. And then here is your plaque. For Player of the Year. And then get a picture here with your assistant principal here.
3, 2, 1. One more.
Thank you.
Congratulations, that's awesome. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like. However, after these, you say everybody. It's up to you. You're welcome. And on the student recognition, those that were, I just want to recognize the fact that the high school student leadership for the middle school musical pros, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it was really good. And it's got great reviews, but Laura sent over the choreographers that did that. So Angel Land, Madison McGuire, Mahaley Buxudisha, and Kelsey Dallas were choreographers. Student stage manager Layla Norris, and the student technical director was Dalton Dill. There were almost over 100 students involved in this production, so they all deserve a shout out. But she said it would be a huge list, but those were the ones that were highly involved. So thank you to all of them. They were invited; they couldn't make it tonight. And then the girls soccer we just talked about. Boys soccer was David Kasimoff. He was the Division IV All Ohio team, and girls cross country. Well, this has been brought up before. I think Olivia Brumbaugh, state qualifier, which was the first girl in school history here.
Good.
So that is your student recognition for the day, for this month, if you will. So nice job if you're out there listening, or if you're here, congratulations. That's pretty impressive. So thank you. Now we have a presentation. Shatilla Smith from the United States Air Force. We met, so a little background here. We met, I consider you the liaison, if you will, between Bethel local schools and Wright Pat or the Air Force. So
Shatilla Smith. Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Shatilla Smith, School Liaison Program Manager at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Our office serves as a central point of contact for commanders, military families, and school districts for all pre-K through 12th grade educational matters. As school liaison, I advocate for military connected students at the local, state, and national level. I would like to express my gratitude to the Bethel Local School Board and to the interim superintendent, Mr. Michael Nutter, for allowing me to be here today. I'd like to also highlight that this month is Military Family Appreciation Month, and would like to say thank you to those in your district who have served or are currently serving. Today, I'd like to share that Bethel Local Schools is one of 34 public school districts that surrounds Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Based off of the 2023 and 2024 total enrollment data released this fall from the Ohio Department of Education, Bethel was within the top 5% in the state with military connected students. Data reflects that 9.6% of the total enrollment are military connected. To some, that may seem like a low percentage, but our highest number of military connected students within the state sits at 13.8. So in comparison, 13.8 at the highest school, at the highest level, and you guys are at 9.6. To provide more insight, Bethel Elementary School is at 11.7%, which is 110 students. Bethel Middle School is at 9.1%,
which is 45 students, and Bethel High School is at 6%, which is 29 students. Again, this is from last year's data, and I'm sure that, that those numbers will fluctuate. So please keep that in mind. I'm also proud to say that Bethel High School is a Purple Star school and is currently going through the renewal process, which is required every 3 years. For those who are not aware, the Purple Star Award recognizes schools that show a major commitment to students and families connected to our nation's military. I'm looking forward to supporting the district with receiving the Purple Star Award for the other 2 schools. The school liaison program is committed to outreach, advocacy, and partnership initiatives that generate real-time solutions for military-connected students as they face global educational challenges and transitions. I am confident that Bethel Local Schools will continue to proudly serve as one of our valued community stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions from the board? Not right now at this time? Okay.
Yeah, one.
I
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was just gonna ask, thank you for coming in, and then ask, what can we do to, assist you?
Yes, ma'am. So I've been working with Mr. Nutter. There are a few things that we've been working on that we can kind of talk offline with, but we're really looking to calculate the amount of military connected students, that really will provide your district with more services. The more that those numbers are calculated, that leads into federal funding as well, such as impact aid. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but those are some things that we have started to discuss. As you know, that Mr. Nutter has just recently gotten here. As far as like supporting with transitions, I look forward to working with the counselors and all school administration to just really provide the best quality and transitional support for our military connected students. And when I note the military connected is not just our active duty members, it's also our DoD civilian population. If you're federally connected, we basically serve from our office. So any other questions? You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
For coming.
You're welcome.
How's the picture? What-
Okay.
People are saying, "I can take it, I can't see."
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And okay, some important dates. We've got Wednesday, November 27th, district's closed. I'll be here. You need anything? Thursday is district closed for Thanksgiving break, so Thursday, Friday. November 3rd, sophomores visit MVCTC. December 10th, Board of Education's a work session here at 5:30. Then December 15th is middle school, high school year concert. December 17th, Board of Education regular meeting back here at 7. It's quick. And then Tuesday, Thursday, December 19th, semester exam, 17th and 19th. So wrap up that with the exams. Those are important dates.
Is that December 3rd that sophomores visit MVCTC?
Yeah. Did I say- Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it says November.
Should be December.
And then I think it's 4th or the 5th, the parents can go to.
Yeah, the spaghetti, is that the
Yeah.
spaghetti dinner?
The nutritional compliance component, this is, we had to fill this out and, I had to say the district follows the nutrition, standard policy, which we do. So,
It's really difficult. It's just click a box.
yeah, didn't take me long at all.
Somebody's got to click a box and send it.
So that was, I think that is, and then miscellaneous, I put that on there just in case, anything comes up, but I have, like I said, we had a great Veterans Day assembly here last Monday on the 11th, and I met everybody. So I think it was nice. It goes back to what we were talking about. It's important, and we owe everything to those folks. So I appreciate all their service and whatnot as well. So that's all I have for my superintendent. Thank you.
Great. Next, we have the hiring of the superintendent. So we'd like to see if, as everybody knows, we discussed this earlier, that Mr. Nutter had decided to stay, and we were happy to have him stay. And so tonight we're gonna make it official with a new contract. And so I'd like to get a motion to hire Michael Nutter as the superintendent.
Move.
I'll second. Any discussion? Take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mrs. B. Mr. B.
Yes.
You can ask her. I got on the roll, my apologies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, to the board and to the community. People here, I don't think I've ever been applauded that much for being hired. No. No, come on, don't be so negative right away. It'll be fine.
It's all fine.
It's all fine, no, but on a serious note, I've really enjoyed, I know when I came out here, we talked about that, and like I said, there's a lot of positive things out here, there's a lot of good people out here, and a lot of good things, and I've had this conversation with people in the audience and the board, so, and I think I'm looking forward to it, so I'm excited, I think we do a lot of great things, and you know, you always want to leave things better than you found it, and I think there's a lot of it's got great phones, and I just think you need a little consistency, and if I can provide that, so appreciate it.
Appreciate you staying. Thank you for staying.
Yes.
I told my wife I would be late next 4 years. She said, good. No,
Well,
thank
you've
you.
certainly done a lot in 5 months,
Yeah.
so I can only imagine what you're doing.
We'll do some good things. We'll do some good things.
Yep.
Excited, so thank you very much.
And thanks. Thanks.
Right, next we have the 5-year forecast.
Okay, it's November, which means we have to send an updated 5-year forecast to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, ODU. So this is presentation on my submission for the board's approval. Looking at our dashboard as far as where we are with revenues this year for it says 24, it should say 25. We have 24.5 total revenue and 23.2 in total expenses. So we're looking at a surplus at the end of the year of 1.3 million. So if we look at it by year on the forecast, we're still doing well, that we're still in the green and nothing is going below 0 for all 5 years. So that's always good when you talk cash. But when we look as far as surplus versus deficit per year, I always tell everybody, I don't get too scared about 28 and 29 because that's 2 biennium budgets away. And we never know what our legislators are going to do for the next biennium budget, which is due in June, nevertheless, for the next 2 years after that. If I did, I certainly wouldn't need to be working here, would I? I really focus on the first 3 years of the forecast and what we can do. So we're looking pretty good and we have pretty good surpluses as we end each year.
So as we prepare for Carriage Trails 2, will we start seeing like that True Days cash go down perhaps, or?
As we see enrollment increase, yeah, we'll have to look and see if there's a need to add teachers, spaces, construction. So as we work together to look at the strategic plan, as Mr. Nutter outlined, and facilities and what we can do, there's going to be some cost involved. So how much, I'm not sure until we start looking at what that plan's going to be. So yeah, so we will see increased costs.
But you also get the money from the kids.
Yes, we're hoping that if the fair school funding plan remains in place and continues to be funded at 100%, right? Then we should get at least $4,000 a kid, right? Because each kid is funded by the state by approximately $4,000. Then our portion is a little over $3,000 for a total of $8,000. So hopefully we will at least get the $4,000 for those kids. Now we won't actually see any property tax income for probably 2 years after they close and move in, because it's always in arrears. And we can't report, even if we report them as residents, we'll only get that money from the state. That's it. So Our main revenue drivers are our real estate taxes, which is currently running 16% of our total revenues, ODE or OD, which is 48%, and income tax, which is 11. Those are our top 3 revenue drivers.
And that's for this year, or is that projected for 2025?
That's 2025. Yeah, that's this year. This year is 2025, fiscal year 2025, yeah. So line 101 and 102 on the 5-year forecast is your revenue is your real estate taxes and your tangible personal property taxes. So we're looking at an update, a full appraisal update in Miami County in 2025. So I expect benefit values to go up. It's been the norm. So we'll see. I'm estimating about a 5% increase in real estate for fiscal year 26 and 27, looking at collections and values and what the reappraisal will bring in 2025. Currently, the real estate tax is flat and tangible taxes are up 7% for the current fiscal year. So a conservative growth for fiscal year 18 and 28, I went back to 18, 28 and 29 is forecasted. So I'm only looking at that maybe a 1% growth. As far as state funding, which is line 1035, as far as unrestricted, which means we can use that for any operating expenses needed to run the district. Fiscal year 24, we received $10,056,454, and this year we're looking at $11,957,265, which is an increase of almost $2 million just in unrestricted state funding, up by 19%.
Based on enrollment?
Yes, based on enrollment and the increase on the funding model, right? So every year in this biennium, they've increased it a little bit. So it's really working for us, which is good because our district has been capped for many years. So I forecasted a 5% increase for fiscal year 26 through 29. To account for possible lower state funding increases. There's already mumbling going on that the state doesn't have the money, which always happens when you're nearing a new biennium budget. But so I wanted to keep it pretty conservative and only account for maybe a 5% growth in that area. So if we get to May and we find out something different with our legislators, we can certainly update that. But right now I'm being a little conservative and only accounting for maybe some additional students and some increases and just no more than 5%. We also have restricted state funding, where it used to be back in the old days, we only had one restricted fund, and that was for career tech. Now you have 4 or 5 different buckets now. So you have, let's see, we have, if I can remember them all off the top of my head, we have career tech, which we don't get any. We don't have any in-house career tech programs, so we don't get that. But we also have ELL, gifted, student wellness and success funds. So those all have to be spent on those particular services and those, services only. So student wellness and success, we use the majority of those funding to pay for the SROs, and things of that nature. So in that area, we received $644,000 last year, and we have $791,000 anticipated for this year, which is an increase of 127.
Is this on a user lose at all, or do we have carryover?
No, I have to report every year. They gave us a couple years as you can carry forward a certain percentage, but no, now we have to spend it all. So we have to make sure, which is a little difficult because it's a moving target. As kids come in and out, that money moves, right? So, but we've got to try and figure out where we're going to end at the end of the year and make sure we spend at least that amount of money. So I forecasted an additional 4% for fiscal year 26 to 29 to account for possible lower state funding. So we'll see in June 2025 if there's gonna be any increases or an additional line that's restricted. And if they add more strings, we'll see. So income tax is forecasted up to 8%, an increase of 8% for the current year, and 4% for fiscal years 26 through 29. The first two collections are up by, quite a bit, so that's why I'm increasing it by 8%. But anything beyond fiscal year or calendar year 25 will be gone unless we can pass a new renewal on the income tax. So we need to be, that's on our plate to discuss tonight as well. So all other revenue, TIP payment was 3.58 forecasted in this year for fiscal year 25, and 3% forecasted for each year out. I'm keeping a close eye on that because we don't know what Carriage Trails is going to do and how much. And we still have some properties that are being sold as we speak. So interest income is in this line too, and will be down a little bit for 25 because there was a correction that I needed to make, but we'll be back to about over 100,000 each year in fiscal year 26. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Mhm.
How, when does our TIF end?
Oh, yeah, I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, because it's a rolling 30-year, if I remember correctly. So, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just applies to the CT1, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what makes that go up? What drives the 3% increase?
Well, if people move in and buy houses, then that revenue is then added to the TIF revenues, and because we're not collecting taxes, it's payment in lieu of taxes. So those payments currently are collected by the Miami County Auditor's Office and then given to us, which is great because I've worked at other districts where they're collected by a third party, and sometimes you have to become a bill collector to get the money paid. But yeah, so they collect the money and then they report it back to us. So, as those properties sell and the values go up, then we'll see those TIF revenues increase as well.
Is that a yearly, so do we get like a check once a year? Do we
You get it twice a year,
twice
just
a
like
year?
your property taxes. So we get it twice a year, just like our property taxes, and as the previous boards passed the resolution that 30% of that goes into our capital improvements budget. And so that's 30%. The remaining amount, which is this 3.58, is the remaining 70% that's available for operating expenses. So our three big expense drivers, of course, are salaries, benefits, and purchase services. Salaries are 54%, benefits are 19%, and purchase services are 18%. One of the big things that I've always been asked since I walked in the door here is how much of the salaries is hidden in purchase services, because we have a lot of Miami County ESC employees. So I gave you guys a breakdown of that. It's far less than it's been in the past. Most of our costs for Miami County ESC is for additional services that are needed. But yeah, so we do have some, but not a whole lot that's going over there.
We're checking them.
Yes.
Is that a typical breakdown from district to district?
Usually what you'll see is benefits and salaries will run you anywhere between 70 to 80% of your overall revenues, overall expenditures. So that's pretty normal. Yeah. Forecasting a 25% increase to our expenses for fiscal year 25. Line 3.01, which is the salaries. We're looking at about a 34% increase to this line to account for the new salary schedules that were created last year and effective this year, along with the additional staff. We had 21 new positions created last year into this year, and so we're looking from that point on at only 10% and 4.8, just to look at enrollment stats and birth records. When I'm looking at birth rates, looks like we'll probably have a really big kindergarten class coming up either next year or the year after. So, yeah. So that's why we have a little bit of a bump, an increase in the 10% in that line, because we're probably gonna need to find space and hire staff for additional kindergarten classrooms.
Working on it.
So 3.02 is benefits, and that's an 8.5% increase for the increases that are tied to STRS and SERS, which is a percentage as your incomes go up, then your STRS and SERS goes up. And we're forecasting a 5% increase for health insurance cost. Purchase services, 8.5% increase. Normal increases for fiscal year 26 to 28 of around 4%. Just like our private budget, things cost more. So 8.5% for this year, and then hopefully it won't get much higher than that. 3.04, which is supplies, average of a 5% each year in the forecast. 3.05 is equipment. I've increased the forecast in fiscal year 25 because we don't have any ESSER funds available, right? So when we look at Chromebooks and laptops and things of that nature that we've been lucky enough to use ESSER funds for in the past, we'll have to start purchasing those on our own. Mr. Nutter and I are going to sit and look at the permanent improvement budgets and what can and cannot come out of there, but we also purchased the buses. And so I factored in bus purchases every other year, but as we sit and look at what's available in PI and what needs to be done, what's the best, best things we can bring to the board for approval, that may change as well.
Yeah, we want PI to be targeted
Yes,
better than just spraying, for lack of a better term, right?
right.
More of a targeted approach, just because we got PI money doesn't mean we spend PI money to fix this or that, right? Give me some projects that'll drive things, right? So we're gonna sit down and look at that. It'll be a little different.
Yes.
Now, these out years, are we gonna start seeing bigger spikes as we start getting like input from FMD and those people as well? When we start getting like need plan going as to.
We'll use the document, like the strategic plan, with all the input from, stakeholders and, the other people that we'll start to look at that. But I think, the biggest thing on the PI or permanent improvement is, be deliberate on how we spend it and why are we spending it and where are we spending it.
Right.
And with, we've been around a long time, been through construction projects in the past, and, and I've dealt with old buildings too that we had to fix, right? I mean, so it's all those things that are incorporated in that decision-making process, and, we'll keep everybody informed as we go and get your input as well from the board. But, moving forward, I think, we just want to make good decisions, sound decisions, just not that they were bad, but, if something breaks, we fix it, but let's really concentrate. And we had this discussion earlier on my office. Let's concentrate on what it is that we want to focus on. Don't be wasteful. If you've got an old building and you're not going to use it down the road, then we don't put $400,000, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and I just mean like expenses across the board, right? Because everything's gonna, as we get student enrollment projections and.
Right.
Yeah, you won't get, I don't see diesel going down or
No.
utilities going down, nothing ever,
No.
been doing this 33 years, nothing got cheaper.
I haven't seen that happen yet either. So I'm just as what I know today, right? What we know to be true today, and then what we think might happen, right? As far as I say we, like I have a mouse in my pocket, but and talking to other treasurers and talking and listening to what the state has to say, what I think is going to happen. Am I ever going to be 100% accurate? No, but we have to be within 10%, and we've been way below that. So, as far as forecasting is concerned, so we've been doing pretty well. But yeah, so I just think it's necessary to factor in if you've been using general fund to purchase some capital expenditures in addition to your PI. If we're more deliberate with what we purchase out of PI, then, we're going to need to have, put in some money into general fund as well to make that happen. So. Increase other objects. I increased the forecast to account for auditor collection fees and higher real estate collection. Those went up. So when they collect and send us the checks, they have a cost, so they get to deduct their own fees. So you'll see that line's gone up. 300,000 is forecasted in fiscal year 25 for transfers out, and that's for the newly created severance fund. As we, have cash, it's a good idea to put money in the severance fund so that if you have a group of teachers that all retire at the same time, you have those monies available. I was going to work up some kind of calculation to see where everybody is and when they're first eligible to retire, and bring that to the board at a later date. But I'm estimating about 300,000 at this time. Advances out 2,800 per year. And ending cash balances, we're doing pretty well. It's all in the green, it's all up there, so I'm pretty happy about it. And looking at salaries and benefits as a percent of revenue, like I said, it's between 70 and 80, and each year it's going to go up a little bit. So as of, that says 5/13, it really should say 11/18, my apologies. Bond retirement, which is what we use to pay our debt, is sitting at 929,000. We are collecting more on the bonds because we're not collecting as long, but we still have to make those payments, right? So that's why we have a little bit of an excess. Permanent improvement right now, we have 476,000. Food service is $711,481. And we're sort of out of compliance a little bit. We need to make sure that money gets spent down, and that's another thing that Mr. Nutter and I need to speak about as far as how we can help guide food service in a better way.
We
So,
have too much money.
We have too much money. You're not allowed to have that much money. Yeah. Most districts are looking at deficits, and when the general fund is bailing out food service because they're supposed to run independently. Well, our food service department runs independently. But at this point, we sort of need to look at what's our best option.
Yeah, we need to sit down with them.
Yes,
Because basically food service is set up so you don't make money on it.
right.
It's not, you shouldn't have like a lot of money. in your food
They
service
don't
account.
want you to have more than 30 to 60 days worth of operating expenditures, and that's almost a year. So, yeah. So,
Expensive hot dogs.
yeah. We don't charge that much. We're actually, our costs are pretty low. So, yeah. So
We're working on it.
we have
We'll
to
get that
sit
in line.
look at that as well. So capital projects, that's our 070. We have $2.1 million. I was just commenting Monday, we had to pay a 900,000+ debt payment on the lease. So it's not that high for November. And then severance right now we have 300. So
Is that severance, amount, is that gonna be a yearly thing that you're gonna try to put in, or are you gonna do it?
yeah, I'm gonna try and work up a calculation that shows who's close to retirement, what their available sick leave is, what they would be eligible for, and see how much we need to stash away each year. Yeah, because you want to make sure that when they retire, they get their severance, right? So this was the first we created the account last year, and then I asked for one lump sum of 300,000. I put 300,000 in the forecast again because we've never done it before. So to look and catch up, we usually only have 2 or 3 that retire each year. But better safe than sorry. So that's why I want to look at who's eligible.
I didn't know if you'd calculated that out as a 300,000 for each year in the
Currently in the forecast,
Okay.
it's 300 each year.
Gotcha.
So as I pull all the data as far as who's eligible, then we'll see whether or not it needs to be that high. So. Overall ending cash balance, fiscal year 25, we're looking at $9.5 million. Fiscal year 29, I expect our ending year cash balance to be $10,036,077. That's a mouthful to say. That is with the passage of the income tax. So no income tax, those numbers change drastically. So, So that is pretty much my presentation on the 5-year. I did, per Ms. Leskowicz's request, attach the state version in the board docs for you. And when I say the state version, that's just this wonderful spreadsheet that when I put it up on the screen, nobody can see. So that's why I do the community one, which would, you know, is easier for everyone to see. Maybe Miss,
Yeah, you didn't have to, it was just for our
yeah.
information.
So this is the community version, and I think it's easier for the community to understand and read through, because, and it also gives more information than what I believe the 5-year does, because it rolls everything up into 1.06 and 1. Yeah, all that wonderful stuff. But it shows how we're going to end the year with monies, and so each year we end in the black, or we're putting money in the bank, so to speak, except for the last 2 years. And once again, I don't get too worked up over that because it's hard to see what those biennial budgets are. So I'm really conservative when it comes to the funding and that we'll receive in those 2 years, especially now that we're getting so much of our revenue from the state. Any other questions or concerns, comments?
No, like Chuck, I just, and as far as food service goes, they do have really good French fries, so. I'd be in my chair there. Hardly to blame.
You're not eating enough of them.
So we're ready to go on to the treasurer's report because we have a lot this month, and I apologize. So September, since I was out with my father, in October, I wasn't able to give you these reports, so I apologize. But this is our revenue snapshot. We look pretty good. Homestead and rollback payments are just up slightly. So they've increased 1.45%. Our poverty funding has doubled year to date, and it's up over 11,000.
How is that calculated?
It's based upon the number of kids that are either direct cert from the state, meaning they're eligible for assistance. That's a direct cert, and then based upon the free and reduced lunch applications. If you do anything like the CDP, which is a community eligibility, where you make everyone eligible, you sort of have to look at what your percentages are and what your revenues are and see whether or not you can do that. We're getting up there. I'm not sure. And the other thing is that I'm not sure if we're required to provide breakfast when we do the CEP, right? I think we might be, yeah. So is that something we can do? Because we're not currently doing that. So those are the other things that we have to look at. But so that's calculated by the state based upon our direct cert information and our free and reduced as we report that in the EMIS system. So.
And then that food service fund zeroes out because we would actually get funding from somebody else to pay for all the.
No, it doesn't zero out. That money stays there. It's just instead of collecting money from our community, we would be getting additional an increase in reimbursement from the state and federal.
You get more state support.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be as much.
Right.
Yeah, so it's whether or not you can sustain that. So. Interest is up 20,000 through the first quarter. Federal Reserve's begun to cut rates, you know. This will be reflected on the 5 years. So expense snapshot, yeah, so we're right now, like I said, we're up about 35% in salaries and benefits, and purchase services was elevated a little bit as I was waiting for the ESC to provide us a detail on what the breakdown was. So I also provided all that to you guys and yeah, so you can see that.
So now that you have that breakdown, now do you go through and look to see, like, maybe we want to do a psychologist in-house, or maybe we want to do.
Yeah, that's something that Mr. Nutter and I have already discussed this morning, and what we, you know, how we want to go about doing that. Yeah.
yeah, now we've got eyes on every program, right? There's some things that I have questioned.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So.
This year is the first year that we've had the units here.
It's the first year for the.
Yeah.
The MDU.
And so that we had a reduction of like 20,000 in the cost, but the costs are still pretty significant. So, but,
There's preschool with CLC, there's other things to do that.
yeah. So I wanted to get my hands on a true breakdown to see what those costs were and so, got that this month, and that's why some things were a little delayed. I was waiting on it, but so we have it now and it's available for you guys to take a look at. So I was anticipating 2.2.
2.8.
It's 2.8. So, yeah, I was a little surprised by that. In supplies, we purchased the K-5 iReady diagnostics programs for reading, and that was just under 40,000. We had another purchase for the middle school this
For
month.
iReady.
Yeah, for iReady, so we'll see that in November's reports. And yeah, we've increased property tax collection, but like I said, increased fees to go along with that. So they're up over 9%. So current cash, 10,796,000, 164 days of available cash. So when you're looking at the general fund report, all these wonderful numbers, comparing this year's budget to last year and where we're at, I always just look at this box. That's where I concentrate on. This year we've collected a little over $1 million more, and we've spent just almost $2 million more, but we're still in the green, we're still in the black, so to speak. So because of those additional salary costs, staff, and because we're doing things a little more efficiently, so costs are up this year compared to last year, and that's all timing. I can open each one, or we can just say the bank reconciliation's there, it's balanced, everything balanced. And our investments are up, and the cash summary is there for your review that shows each account is in good standing. So here we go. Don't know which one it is. Okay, then and now. So we're doing much better than we have in the past. So yes, everybody's doing much better and making sure they have a PO in place. So we're not down to zero every month, but we're getting there. So it's a very big improvement. Yes. So last year at this time we had 16. This year we have 3. So yeah, so much better than we were last year. So I appreciate that, everyone that's been working hard on that. Thank you very much. So
It's all the training.
Get them in.
make sure you have a PO in place before you purchase. So and then pretty much for October, we're as real estate's just up slightly, it's pretty much flat. Tangible property is up a little bit. Income taxes increased in the first half of the year. ODE is the largest increase we've seen as far as revenues are concerned. We're up 90% in interest. Payments in lieu of taxes are up 14.5. State aid is up 762. So vital for us to have the fair school funding formula fully funded. So I hope that we can get that, but overall we're up 12.9% in revenues. So expenses, we anticipated that with the new hires and with the increase afforded in the new salary schedules for classified and for certified. So certified wages are up 568,000. Regular classified wages are up by 236. we paid out close to 80,000 in severance payments. Most of that would have been our superintendent that retired. And online curriculum purchases were just over 80,000. So one new school bus, 2 used buses for nearly 150,000, which is increasing our equipment line. So we didn't purchase a bus last year, so that's why that percentage is much higher. So overall, 10,823,600. I've been a treasurer for 20 years. I haven't seen cash balances that good in a district this size, so I'm pretty happy. So means we can do more for the staff and the students and get where we need to be. So I'm pretty excited about that. Everything balanced. So I'm just gonna go straight to the then and nows. If you guys have any questions about anything else, please feel free to let me know. In October, we had 2. And last October, we had 26. So once again, yes, fantastic. Yeah, so very, very happy. Thank you to everyone. The secretaries for making sure people have their POs in place. And my team, of course, for helping get everybody on board with that. So yeah, we're doing better. So those are the check registers for the month of September and October. Had to make some changes as far as appropriations are concerned for September, when we saw some increases in student activities, because we got new budgets and new things come in September and October. So I need your approval on the amended certificates and appropriations for both September and October. Then need your approval on the 5-year. And then that's all I have. That's more talking than I like to do, but there we go.
A lot of numbers, thank you.
So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the treasurer's report. One second, any discussion? You take roll, please.
Well, you guys are going quicker than I can write. I'm gonna have to learn shorthand. Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger. Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you finished now?
I am finished.
All right, so recommendations. One, we've got gonna start with we've got the resignations, Rebecca Shuck and Paula Simpson. They're resigned, effective dates are there. We've got the employee for new. So Amber Torres is a food service worker, Lorraine Smith is a bus driver, and Lorraine Smith is also becoming a classroom aide. So we've got 3 hours replace 3 hours in food service, 6 hour resign and a 5 hour replace. So we saved an hour there. And Lorraine Smith was the key to the last piece to the double routing. So she was the driver that she gets the award, so she got rid of double routing, right? So, but she also, we've had some, like I said, we've had several aides quit and resign and, retire for whatever reasons, the elementary. A lot of it's just, we gotta hire good people. But people want to be here, but but she will also fill a 4 hour gap for an 8, which is nice. She's coming over.
Is she driving bus only for the elementary?
No, she does 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours. So Kathy, that puts her all routes, right? Lorraine,
She
yeah,
drives high school and elementary. So she basically drives in the morning and afternoon.
drives in the morning, and
aids in the
afternoon.
middle of the day.
She already met with the principals at the elementary, and they're using her for the 4 hour aids in the middle of the day.
Okay, so how will that work? Like if there's a delay or something like that? Because I know that we've run into problems with that in the past when someone's driving the bus and doing like food service or something like that. So
Yeah, she would be a instructional aide at this point. So if they're late, she's gonna be late. This kid would be late, right? So she would still fill in that void between routes. But I don't know what the hours would be, but you would start 2 hours later, so then you would leave, normal time. So she would come in and figure 8, 11, and work till 3, and then head home. So it should be about the same, I mean, it should work out about the same, but just, she starts later. But the kids won't be here yet either, so. Food service is different, because
Yeah,
they
it
start
is,
cooking,
it is,
right?
yeah.
So that's a little different animal, but
Okay.
she's on a kid's schedule, so it shouldn't change.
And she's a classmate, she's not a one-on-one,
Correct.
so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
not
they
the end of
can-
the world if
They,
she doesn't
if she
show up,
can't
but
be there right on the money, it's not.
yeah, she's not assigned to a student.
Basically has an hour and a half of playtime in between. Like she'll stop driving at 8:45, 9 o'clock, and then she'll go in the classroom at 10 o'clock. And then she'll come out of the classroom at 2 o'clock. And she won't start driving until 2:30.
Yeah. True.
Free trip, yeah, come over from the elementary,
Mhm.
back to the garage and go again. So. But
She's a trooper.
yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah.
Lorraine.
the substitutes, employee classified, approve the following individuals. Phil, sub-custodian. He was actually been working quite a bit. Gail Rhodes, substitute secretary, and Terry Scott, substitute third service. A contract adjustment for Gazelle, and I'm gonna mess this name up, but I'm not gonna try. Anyway, we adjusted her contract from 3 hours to 5 hours. That was the one where I said one quit for 6, she went from 3 to 5. And the 3 replaced her. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And Robert, he went from 3 to 4.5. But we increased his time. And then unpaid leave, Brendan Brooks and Wilson Matthews Morgan. They just big docked those days that you see. And that covers those recommendations for last time.
Hey, can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda for back-to-back person?
Almost.
So- Second,
Okay,
Any discussion?
well, second.
Okay, can you take roll please?
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. V.
yes,
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to ask the board to approve the supplemental contracts for, we got Sarah Bird, who's the elementary school math club advisor. So that's based off of numbers. So we have, once you have 18 to 24, and then there's a formula once you increase. Bottom line is we got over 50 kids in math club, which is pretty cool, the elementary. And so there's 3 advisors over there. So those, and that, I was talking to Mindy about this earlier. I mean, she used to run that program. They used to take kids to Indiana and everything
Yep.
else. So it was trying to revitalize that a little bit. It sounded like it was a really great program. And we're just trying to build it back up. So that was exciting. They've got over, like I said, over 50 kids there. So the teacher on these student teacher stipends, take a look at those are, we pay a stipend to our teachers that have a student teacher. So there's the breakdown of that. So, and I think Mindy's student teacher actually does some subbing for us at this point, correct? Yeah, does a nice job. Yep. So that's good. The ESC substitute teacher list, that is, it's, you know, is what it is. And the approval for the consent agenda for certified.
So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for certified personnel?
I'll move,
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll please.
Wait a minute.
Not critical, but I just wanted to ask, so I didn't see this on Saturday when I printed this out with the stipends unless I missed it, so.
No, I added that
Okay.
yesterday because we got the check yesterday from Wright State. So I wanted to sort of get it in so that I could get the money to the teachers. So if you guys don't want me to do that, I can wait, but I didn't want them to have to wait until December, so.
No, that
Yeah.
answers my question.
Yeah, that was me. I got the check on Monday when we got the mail, so I thought, oh, I'm gonna slide it in now so we can get them.
Is that just a one-time payment to those?
Usually we get these payments in April or May, but Wright State was eligible to give out an additional $150 to those that have the science of reading. certification training. So those 3 individuals got the additional 150. So they give us 150. We've removed the district cost, right? For retirement and thing and Medicare and workers' comp, and then we pay them the difference. So in the past, the district has sort of kept those as miscellaneous income, and I just always think that if the teachers are doing the work, they should get the money.
Thank you for explaining that.
That was me. So, yeah.
No, just. weren't losing your mind, Natalie.
Get the money to the teachers.
We can be, proactive on getting your agenda.
Wait a little.
So my apologies, yeah, so.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay.
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to, the board approve the revisions made to policy 5330, use of medication, second reading. We went over this, last month. Basically, we're just updating the policy to follow the practice that we do here. Nothing's changed since last month, but the policy should reflect what we do. So we changed. Approval of easement of ODOT. So I had a board with so this is so the turn lane out here. I don't know if you read all this. So in short, all this language is basically the entrance and widening to out front of the building, right? When the building was built, they were supposed to put the turn lane in, right? Obviously you need a turn lane. So when ODOT came out and explained to me, we just had to okay the donation letter. It's already been done, obviously. It's not like we're approving a new turn lane. It should have been done back when the project was being done, but it wasn't. So therefore, we are just going to a donation letter to ODOT, and that way we don't have to pay a consultant and say, yeah, that's what you should do. So you just, that's why, I mean, it's not, you can read all the legalese, but I had them come out to me and say, explain this to me. Why do I have a donation letter and easement of a turn lane that's already there? And they said, well, back when it was done, but they need it for their files and to make everything right. I said, okay, that's fine. So that's why so tomorrow they're going to come out and notarize it. I'll sign it, but I just wanted you to be aware of it. You use it, just so you know, that's what should happen in the turn lane. That's why it's on there.
I couldn't figure
We're
it
cleaning
out.
that up.
I
So,
thought
yeah.
we were getting another one.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, we don't need a second turn lane. I already had one accident out here. And I'm like, what's this?
Yeah.
Did I imagine?
No, so that's what that is.
Thankfully, they let us go ahead and do it,
Yeah.
or they helped us and got it done so we could get the building open,
Yeah.
but yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's great they did it, but
It's just
they just,
paperwork.
that's paper.
It's just paperwork, yeah.
Because they realized they didn't have it, and I was asking why. So.
Yep.
Very good. Overnight stays, so these student trips, like I said, I always, best practice is always to approve these, so they're school trips, so all rules apply.
Yeah.
And they're covered for safety reasons and whatnot, so you've got, the music department's going to Disney in December of 26, and I remember that's a year off, but it's one, they want it on, because they're gonna take time to get things ready. And then the basketball, I mean, that is next month, and they're going down to Tennessee for their showcase, so. Hopefully everybody will win the division. It's important. And then dedicated school staffing. Ask the board to approve the staffing agreement, and now. We talked about this before, and Tina and I talked about it today. I would like to try this and see. I've used this company before with a different name. It was called Rachel Wixon Associates out of Toledo when I was superintendent. Substitute teachers have always been an issue, right? But there hasn't been a day gone by here that we are not covering classes with our current staff. And it's not just isolated at Bethel. I mean, this is across the board, right? But we need, and we pay a lot of money to cover classes, and we pay money for subs, and and the other thing is it's just not good for kids, because if I'm pulling teachers during their plan period, then when are they going to plan? if I'm full, it's just bad all around. So, and like I said, there's not a day I come in the morning and I'll sit at my computer in the morning and I'll see coverage lists come out for everybody. Almost every day. And it's like, so we gotta get past that. I mean, obviously, we don't have enough subs from our substitute list at the ESC. And I think that, you know, if we do the numbers, it would probably be cheaper to hire this company than to pay all these subs. So with that being said, I think it's more fiscally responsible. And I think it's better for kids and it gives the teachers time to back their plan time. I think it makes sense. You know, we've tried for a year. I've used them before. The different name, they got bought out, called dedicated staffing now, but still out of the same area. That I would like to try, like I said, it's worked before. They handle all the advertising and marketing. You don't, I don't, we won't be short people. That's the goal. And they can do teachers and aides. All that. And then, you've got review and approve the.
Yeah, this one's me. So the Miami County Auditor allows us to do what's called an alternative tax budget. We aren't required to have to advertise or hold a public meeting when we're doing an alternative tax document. If you're doing the actual tax document, there's tax budget, then there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through, and Miami County allows you to do that. But in order to do that, we have to pass 2 resolutions. This is the first of the 2. The tax budget is due by January 20th, and hopefully this year we won't have a blizzard right beforehand. Yeah, so I would like to pass this resolution in November, the next one, and hopefully the tax budget will be on December, and then that way we can get it in to the Miami County Auditor in advance. So that's what I'm asking. So it's all this legal ease just to say it's okay to do the alternative tax budget. So
Right, can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda for the business item?
I'll second.
Any
Go ahead,
discussion?
Regan can second.
Okay.
So I had a couple questions. So on the dedicated staffing, I couldn't see, is there like an upfront cost for that other than the extra daily rate? That's it. No,
No.
so it's just the extra daily rate.
they're able to offer benefits to the people they hire,
Mhm.
right? So their daily rate's a little more.
Right.
And I can see why, because they're offering
Sure.
that benefit. So that is something we don't do for subs, so.
Like, that was my only
Yeah,
question on that.
And we, Ms. Hatter and I sort of ran the numbers, and it will be a significant increase, reduction in cost for us if we're able to get someone in from dedicated staff.
Do they have any kind of guarantee, for lack of better word, like?
No, I mean, they said they'll do it. They'll set the
Okay.
bill. My only thing is they're the same people that I worked with. Staff has, the people in charge haven't changed, for the most part. And, nobody can guarantee me subs now. I got nothing to lose, right?
Sure.
But I mean, to your point, but see, the other thing too is I don't, to be fair to the ESC, they're not the business of substitutes
Right.
anymore. That's not what they do. That's not their bread and butter, right? They try to help when they can, but this company will actually come out to the area, market, not to do anything. They'll take care of the marketing, the advertising, and give me some quality people. And that's what we need. That's what, to get things, stabilized back to normal. Because there's lots of things we want to do, but if I can't go talk to the staff during their plan because they're teaching, algebra or second grade or something, that's detrimental as well. But they're not going to guarantee or pay us, much, but to the point, I think, I've known them for years and they're fairly successful where they go. So I think.
I'm excited to try something new.
Well, you talked to them.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
you talked to
did. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm excited to try something new because
This is
what we got in working. So, yeah.
It's not,
Well, it'll give our staff back their planning time.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, the way the schedule's set up now, which we're working on that too, but the way the schedule's set up now, I have no time to have a staff meeting, I have no time to have a planning meeting, I have no time for teachers to collaborate, it's just,
Yeah.
it's not a great schedule, right, from an educational standpoint. And, you know, I don't care if we get 46 minutes or 43 minutes or 30 minutes, if I'm teaching well, they're gonna learn 30 minutes or 46 minutes. But the point being is, you need to have time. Teachers need time to plan. Teachers need time to ask questions. They need time, if you want to tutor, if you got kids that have questions on homework. There's just no time for that in this current schedule, but to the point, they need to have their plan period because that, do all of them use it? I don't know, maybe not, but they need to have it, and a lot of them do utilize that time. So I think that's important, and I think, if there's time for them to collaborate, that is equally important. And the quality of subs from, that these people have gotten has been pretty good, so. We'll try for you.
I'm excited to really.
And if it doesn't work, to fire
Yeah, I mean.
I had one follow-up question. And to say, to go along with Rachel and Jackie, I attended the OSBA conference. I was able to talk to them in person, the reps that they had at the conference, and I got all my questions answered there, so that was very helpful. And then, as far as what we do internally, and if the contracts, if we approve this tonight, when will we kick them off then? Did it say in here? I wasn't sure. Was it December, tomorrow?
No, like Thanksgiving.
Okay.
They're gonna be hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and just so you know, the subs that we currently have would be absorbed into there.
Well, that was another question I
That's one thing
thought
they
of.
can do, or they can stay. I mean, we'll work that out. I mean, we're not throwing anybody out on the street, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're still working here, you're still working here because we think you're doing a good job. We just have short, right? If you're not doing a good job, then you probably aren't here or don't need to be here anyway.
Right.
But I think, with that being said, we're going to, I told them, Christian, the lady you talked to and who was down there, Paris, I think the two names, Paris. Yeah, I said, if this gets approved, I said, we'll talk tomorrow. And we're gonna get this implemented as fast as we can.
Yeah, they sound fantastic.
And from an operational standpoint, do you foresee like the people who are under the ESC as well as dedicated staffing, will they all get the notices at the same time, or had you thought that through yet?
No, they would, dedicated staff would reach out if we still wanted those people.
Oh.
Yeah, they would come under the umbrella.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think, it's a good deal for them too,
Yeah.
but it's also, you have to, there's a process to work with them, right? They're vetted, you gotta be able to do your job.
Right.
Not that anybody's not, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you gotta have a certain threshold,
But currently, are they only going to be working with certified?
we talked certified and classified.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, you can go.
Mrs. Leskowitz. Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
All right, that leads us up to the BEA update.
Well, Thanksgiving's almost here. It's a break. No. Fifth grade will be going to Camp Kern next Monday and Tuesday, so we're excited about that. Hopefully school doesn't get canceled. As we had that happen a couple of years ago.
Next
However,
Tuesday.
yeah,
We should be okay.
I'm not feeling good, no. This week, there's a undercover teacher spirit week going on. at the
Nice.
Elementary and middle school, hence the flannels.
Aw.
Yesterday, I know elementary, we had sandals with socks.
Oh.
And that tomorrow is anything but a cup day. So we're gonna see some interesting drinking devices. I already went to Roki. Anyway, I know the middle school's also doing that, so it's kind of nice because, then the kids are kind of like, what's going on? What are you guys doing? I always wear shoes, So it's kind of nice. Yeah, and then also between the weeks of Thanksgiving break and winter break, our high school staff and students are gonna be doing the 12 Days of Hope Spirit Week. Just to kind of help keep the kids engaged and the teachers engaged and just have, enlighten it a little bit, plus exams coming up. So that's really great for the kids and that. I know elementary is also doing the Bethel Hope Food Drive, so we've kicked that off and we're doing pretty good. We've had a lot of field trips, which is great for the kids, because those learning experiences that can happen outside of the classroom and just building the experiences kids have just to pull that knowledge and to make comparisons when you're introducing subject areas, and that is phenomenal. So that's great to see. I know at the elementary, we're doing a book study on building the mathematical thinking classroom. It's really interesting. It's great to see the teachers getting involved in that. I was fortunate that I already had some of the stuff set up because it's kind of my alley. And just watching the growth in the thinking of our students is phenomenal. And to see K-5 and how it can be adapted for all grades. I've been walking around seeing different things, and we're meeting like at 7:20 in the morning till 8 o'clock, twice a month to do chapters and that, and just to build our professional knowledge so that we can spend it to our kids to get them excited. It's great to see. And the excitement of the teachers just been phenomenal. I mean, it's just great. We have the science of reading, which everybody might hear SOR. That's the big old SOR goes around the district. Not SRO, SOR. I hope I said that. Thanks to good old House Bill 33. A lot of requirements have been put on our teachers and staff for taking required training for reading. If you are a K-5 teacher, you're required to do the dyslexia training, and there's another pathway you have to take for the science of reading. So we have started that. Most of your elementary's done. ELA teachers grades 6 through 12 also are required to do the extended part and several hours of training, like about 20 hours.
21, yeah.
20 hours. And then we have our ISs, which are intervention specialists, are required to do that heavy training. Your ELL teachers, English learner teachers are required, your reading specialists, and your, if we have any instructional coaches, which at this time we don't, but we do have reading specialists. So we've all been required by the state to do that. And then if you were a not K-5 or an EL teacher, the ones I just mentioned, you still have to do 7 to 8.5 hours of training in the other content areas across the board for 6 through 12. The state does offer we do get a stipend for that. A lot of us have completed that. And the nice thing about that is it's $1,200 for your K-5 teachers, ELA teachers, grade 6, 12. There's 5 pathways. 4 of those get the $1,200, and then the teachers that are like not your other subject areas would get the $400. The district does pay that, however, we get reimbursed from the state. So, that's the nicety of it. So a lot of us have finished that, so we're looking forward to finding out when we can get our stipends. Because it'd be nice to have every now and then, because it is a lot of work. And also along with this House bill comes RAMPS, which is a reading improvement monitoring plan for students. So if they don't pass the reading state test, no matter what grade, they have to be put on a RAMP. It has trickled up from started K2, now it went to 3, 4, it's at 5th grade now. Next year's at 6th grade. We've been talking about, we've got to train our 6th grade ELA teachers on what a RIMP is and how you handle that. And it's a lot of work, a lot of extra work put on our teachers and that, but it's required by the law, so we've got to do it. And then the year after that, it's 7, 8, and then it's going to trickle all the way up through high school as it's written right now. So there's a lot of things going on that side, and now the state is saying, hey, we've done all this reading stuff, so now they're entertaining, maybe looking at math. Kind of scares me, but, so hopefully if they do, they make it logical. The science of reading to us isn't totally logical, but, that's what they want, so that's what we have to do as educated professionals. So we really, are looking forward to, just doing what's right for our students, and make sure we're upholding that law, and make sure we get the PD we need for our staff, and of course, get those stipends to them after they put in all that hard work, so, that's what I have at this time. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
How does all that training work? Is it during the duty day? Is it online at home?
Actually, we do it, we were assigned it, and then we have to go and do it. We usually, this section we did, on our own. So, yeah. So those hours are on our time. So it's like reimbursing us for doing that training,
Right.
so at least, the state's supporting it this time. Like a lot of other mandates, they don't. So, yeah. All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Mindy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, facilities committee?
We decided not to, hold our meeting this month. I learned a couple new things while I was at the Capitol Conference, and, I know, I'm gonna try to refocus, make sure we have a good set of minutes and agenda items, and Mike and I need to talk about some things that we want to roll out, so we're gonna, plus there were some other folks that were not able to attend, wouldn't be around for today, so we pushed it to, December, so we'll try to do that. December, I think it's the 18th, I'm not sure exactly what day that would be, the 3rd, maybe the 17th, that Tuesday for our regular workshop meeting, at 6:30, just to kind of reintroduce some of that. But there are, we've got a strategic plan, we've got to, make sure we're aligned with that. So there's a lot to kind of set the blocks in place for a good foundation, so we can make sure we do this right as we move forward. So just want to make sure everything's set up appropriately before we continue on, so that is the plan for now.
So December 10th is our work session. And December 17th is the regular board meeting.
So it would be before the regular board
Regular
meeting.
board,
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
17.
at
6:30.
6:30,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll come to that.
okay.
Thank you.
Put me on the team.
Okay, and then, our liaison reports, the OSBA.
Great Capitol Conference, lots of really good information, so, that was, it was fun to go to, and really had a good time with that. If anybody's wondering, I was a delegate, so everything passed. So, I take that back, the one amendment that was brought to the floor about, the school boards appointing members to the CTC school boards, that did not pass. So it was interesting. So that was brought after, like, at the time, brought to the floor at the time. So, and then, of course, the only legislative, piece that is really kind of out there right now is, Senate Bill 104 that is on the governor's desk, but no movement on that yet. So.
Right, and then the CTC.
CTC, and you guys gave a good intro earlier, but as Mr. Nutter stated, the sophomores will visit on December 3rd. Our sophomores will. It does go 3 days, and on December 5th, then, as you guys noted. A second note for the spaghetti dinner, if you attend the open house that evening from 4:30 to 7, might be a good thing. And that they have inclement weather day of the next Thursday in case it would have to be canceled. But there are 27 participant schools and there's 43 career fields that they have there. So definitely want to encourage those that are interested to attend. They have their Thanksgiving break the same as ours, the 27th through the 29th, and their campus is closed. And then their winter break begins the 20th of December. And they don't, the classes then resume on the 7th of January, on Tuesday. So they've got a pretty nice long break for them. And that's really all I have for this month.
Student activities, let's start with our performing arts department. Let's see. Muse Machine update. It says they've had or will be having performances by DCDC, Dayton Contemporary Dance Company, and the Dayton Opera with a student membership. They have 76 members in their Muse Machine. That's pretty impressive.
I watched one too, it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, here's something that's outstanding. They have 5 students in the Muse production of Cats performing this January. Landry Burns in the younger chorus, and then Alexis Levitt, Lily Whalen, Olivia Steinke Ellis, and Kelsey Dallas are in the main cast. Kelsey was also cast as the understudy of Victoria, a prominently featured character in the production. So that's awesome. That'll be coming up in January. In the theater department, Mr. Nutter talked about the great Frozen performance, and she said that there were almost 100 students involved in the performance, and it was an outstanding production, and they had a trailer for it. I saw that. That was, I mean, we are pros or what? I mean, we need to take this show on the road. That's all I'm saying. The Bethel Thespian Troupe will be performing It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play, December 13th and 14th in the auditorium. And then they're having their winter concert on the 15th. Choir, wait, no, yes. Choir, they had a successful concert last month, kicking off the 24-25 music department season with a bang. High school choir students will be performing at Winterfest on December 7th, and the next concert is December 15th. So that's our performing arts. Mr. Nutter, I think, hit some highlights on our athletics.
Sorry.
Yeah, you still, it's still my thunder. Boys soccer though, 18-3-0 is the best record the boys program has ever had in Coach Hamlin's 41 years at the helm. Congratulations, where'd he go? He snuck out. Didn't he? Okay, we will give that credit to Mr. Denlinger since Mr. Hamlin's not here. He conference champion and district runner-up. David Kazimov was selected for All Ohio Honors, and there were 6 players on the all-conference first and second team. Josh Garlow, let's hear girls soccer. Josh Garlow named Three Rivers Conference and Miami Valley Soccer Coaches Association District 4 Coach of the Year. So that's a double whammy. Congratulations, Josh. They were conference champions. We got to see the beautiful Julie Sprague here collect her honors. And there were 7 players on the first and second teams. Claire Bailey in volleyball was named first team all conference. It's a great achievement. And football, we have Remy, Brannon, Logan Newell, and Alex Kuchia, who were named to first team all conference. And, you know, we got to put fall sports away. Let's talk about girls basketball. Welcome to Josh Anderson, his first year as girls varsity basketball coach. He's been a part of the program for about 4 or 6 years, starting in the junior high, and he's also a kindergarten teacher at Bethel Elementary. It's so cute to watch him because he's so tall. Well, the first game of the season is a home opener against Jackson Center on Friday, November 22nd. That would be this Friday in the Hive, JV at 6, varsity to follow. And the winter meet the teams, and Chili Cook-Off is back after a long hiatus from COVID, and guess what? It's tomorrow night. Food at 6, meet the teams at 7. Girls and boys basketball have inter-squad scrimmages for entertainment from 7:30 to 8:30. Buy your tickets and season passes, and it looks like winter sports are on a go. And that's what we got.
They're underway.
We're underway. The hoops begin.
And you'll give me your notes, right?
Yeah, you know that?
I don't even try to keep up with it. Sorry.
All right, that leads us into the income tax.
Boy, he took all the fun out of it.
I think I'm gonna move over here, so here,
Okay,
see if that helps her.
and it's better from one way.
So we have the income tax coming up, I believe it's in 2025 is when it expires, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one that we collect taxes on off the just earned income, so it doesn't, it excludes pensions and all that, just basically if you earn a paycheck and report it, then we're gonna, collect 0.75% of that on there. So last,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, she was leaving.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, last March, was it? Is that when it went? So what had happened, the previous board members, or back in December, the board had elected to try to do a continuing one versus a renewal one. So the renewal one, it was on the books originally for 5 years. It's been going on since, I think, 1999, I think it was the first time I saw it on the books, and then it waited for 20 years before we put it back on the books, and then every 5 years after that.
Yeah.
So
You
it's been-
made one attempt in 1990 and then it was to 2010, it failed, and then
It
failed.
2010. Yeah, then we did in 2010 and it was successful, right?
Right, and then
Correct.
we had one defeat and then 3 more passes,
Yeah.
right? So pretty much for the most part, on a continuous basis, the community has been supportive of collecting it or approving it for a renewal. So then it came on to the board and they decided to put it on the ballot as a continuing, which means it would just continue. We would never have to have it on a ballot. It would just be constant from year to year, and we wouldn't have to word it anymore. So it went to the polls and it was about a 60-40 split where it did not pass as a continuing. And so there was some pushback. There wasn't really any campaigning per se that took place. It all happened pretty quickly. It was the December's meeting when it happened. The board, after we took office, had some discussion and then basically went to the polls. So there wasn't really any kind of any sort of campaign or nothing like that. We just tried making our point. The board had pretty much favored the continuing because of looking from a business perspective, it just made a lot more sense because of going forward, we know there's gonna be a lot of expenses. We know there's gonna be a lot of additional expenses we wouldn't normally experience if we were just status quo. If we didn't have, if Carriage Trails 1.0 was done, then probably continue or a renewal might make more sense. But when we got Carriage Trails 2 coming on board, we thought from a business perspective that having the continuing go on would be a lot easier because then it's a steady state. We don't have to worry about, okay, what's gonna happen in 5 years if it doesn't pass? And
Wait, I have a question.
Mhm.
When you say we, who are you talking about?
the board in January and February, I don't know if we had it in March too, but there was a couple of discussions we had as a board.
Oh,
About-
this
yes,
past
yeah.
year.
Yeah, before it went to the ballot.
I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
And really, the discussions were prompted because we were asked to rescind the decision that was made in December. And
From
rather
prior
than,
board,
and,
yeah.
yeah, and then rather than to go back and undo what previous board members had already done, we just said, just let the people decide. And so we just pushed forward and had it on the ballot and let the people decide whether or not that they want to approve it as a continuing or approve it as, well, they didn't. They turned it down. So that was our first shot. And then now we have May and November, correct? Or we have 2 more shots at it as putting it on the ballot. So now we have to take in consideration, what do we want to do from here? And can you tell us the timelines again about when it has to?
So, it has to be filed with the Board of Elections before January 24th. And so I think it says the 26th and as far as, but that's like on a Sunday, so it's the 24th. So depending upon when we have our organizational meeting and our first meeting, our regular meeting in January, it could be the 7th, the 14th. Organizational meeting has to be before the 15th. But you can have your regular meeting later, or you can have it the same day, which we've done consistently here. It's been the same day, one right after the other. So you would pass your first resolution in December. And that's when we get, I have to request from the state of Ohio Income Tax Department. They have to give us the estimate of what they think the collections will be. That doesn't come from me, it comes from them. So they provide the certification, and then we pass the first resolution, and those two items have to be filed with the second resolution before January 24th with the Miami County Board of Elections to be put on the ballot for May.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we can put it on the ballot as a continuing, we can put it on the ballot as renewal for 5 years, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, I
25,
spoke to our legal counsel once again, just to make sure I understood everything. Income tax, the length is determined by the board. So if the board wants to do a 5-year renewal, 7-year or 10-year, I thought maybe it was capped at 10, or there was some cap that, I could find, but there isn't. Traditionally, it's 10 years, but you could go above that. There is no cap. Or you can make it continuing. I will say, looking back at our levy history, it's not been very successful as continuing. So there'd be some education that we need to do, or we would have to talk to the community about their feelings on that. But so the board, it's at the board's discretion. As far as from my standpoint as the treasurer and chief financial officer, I prefer an earned income tax than property taxes. I think it's more fair. And it doesn't put undue stress on your low earners or your retirees with a fixed income. So I wouldn't advocate ever getting rid of your income tax. Now you'll probably have other treasurers later. But if you are going to look at any kind of reductions or anything like that, I would first look at your property taxes. Now, property taxes in Miami County are very low compared to others, and that's why your properties get sold really quickly. I've been looking. And been doing the comparisons, like Beaver Creek and Centerville and other places are 10 to 15,000 a year in taxes, and here it's 4 to 5 for the same kind of house at the same kind of price range. So I can understand why they go quickly. So that's my 2 cents. And that's my 2 cents for the previous board too. So yeah.
And I think part of the fear from some community members is that they lose some sort of power. They lose control over how we're spending. So if they feel like that we're just spending haphazardly, at least this is one way that they feel that they could come back and say, no, we're not giving you any more money. But if we did the minimum, that's every 5 years. Whereas if we were doing it haphazardly as board members, just vote us out every 2 years. We'll have an election every 2 years. But I will say, my personal fear is when we have 1,486 homes come in, I don't know how long we're going to continue to get that kind of support from the newer people. And pretty soon, they're going to take up a big population of the school district. And so when they come in and they're in a high rent district, so the homes, from what we understand right now, they're starting at around $450,000. Then they've got the Huber Heights tax, and then they get hit with, so we do the taxes in the arrears. So what some Carriage Trails One people have explained to me is they didn't expect the huge increase in their mortgage, because when they first got assessed, it was off of a vacant lot. Once they get moved in, the house is built. Now they're being taxed on their actual home, and it was huge. And so their house payment could go up anywhere from $400 to $800. And so those are some of the things. So we know that we're going to, even though we can't pinpoint what our costs are going to be now, we know that the facilities aren't big enough. Just with what we have right now. We know the student population is going to increase. When that increases, it increases all the expenses associated with, whether it be supplies, teachers, classified staff, food service, you name it, everything goes. Sports goes up, places display sports and stuff. So we know there's more coming that's going to happen over the next 15 or 20 years, just like Carriage Trails. So Carriage Trails said that they started building in 2011, and we're in 2024, and they are just now ramping up some of the last homes. There's still homes being built. Then we've got the new homes being sold, but not built yet, so now we have those students coming in.
Right.
But nothing to come with it, correct? That they,
Right. So if, once a family purchases a plot, a piece of property, they have something that says, I bought property in Bethel School District, we have to enroll them. So we have to then start teaching them, and we have to enroll them as resident students, so it's not even like I can put them in as, I say, I mean Jennifer and Emus. We can't put them in and say that they're, coming from Dayton or Huber Heights and take the money from them. We can't do that. We have to enroll them as resident students because they purchased property. They're still paying or pretty much nothing because it's vacant property, if anything. And then they could come here for 2 years before the house is built and they're moved in, and the only thing we can hope to get is what the state would fund. What the state would fund us, which is currently 4,000 and some change. So.
But aren't they taxed they're still getting their income taxed?
Only if they report to their employer that they live in the school district. If they are currently living somewhere else and not in Bethel, then no. We don't get that.
Even if they bought property and their kids are going.
Right, so they're not living there yet, so they don't have to pay the income tax. So the income tax is withheld by employers, right?
Right.
So your employer withholds it and then submits it to the state does a reconciliation for all the districts that receive income taxes and then sends all our school districts, the payment every four times a year. So, yeah, so the state has it. I don't know. Yeah, so I've been looking at the state's data and how they collect it, and they have all their data set up by income bands, not by location, So I can probably go in and look and see, where the differences in the incomes have happened throughout the year, but it's really gonna be hard to say this is all because of CT1 or CT2 or, because they don't house the data in that way, but we can certainly look at it. But yeah, so it's only when they start to reside in that home and they report to their employer that they have to have that school income tax withheld. So just if I were them, I wouldn't tell them until that was my mailing address, right? So they could be still living somewhere else and not paying the income tax.
and just like with her project or her forecast, we have to make some assumptions. But I looked up, so a 30-year mortgage is assuming that they have to have a mortgage, which I'm sure there might be some cash buyers coming in, but for the most part, you can anticipate a mortgage. So $450,000 at 7%, which is the current rate right now, if you have good credit, is a $3,000 mortgage payment just on that, and then whatever the taxes and stuff are. So we should be able to assume that that's going to bring, that new development is going to bring in higher income families, which will increase also the income tax that we receive from them. And in turn can build maybe more sports complexes or whatever the case may be and stuff. So I guess going forward, I mean, we represent the community and we like to get as much community input in their thoughts as possible before it goes on to the ballot, because it has to, if nobody wants it, then it doesn't matter what we want if we voted on and then nobody votes for it or whatever. But I hope that we can convey both positives and negatives and then let everybody make an educated decision, not try to persuade them one way or another, but just my personal opinion, in the best interest of the entire district and all the schools, it really seems like going with a continuing would be a better choice at this time. And maybe after the initial development is done, then they won't need any more. We'll be a normal school district where we just get, a couple kids a year come and go and everything balances out. But for the next 10, 15, 20 years, it's just going to be more chaos, I think, in my personal opinion, and it's always going to create a lot of expenses. And so rather than wait for all those guys to move in and then beg them to take out more money away from their $3,000 mortgage and everything else, if we passed it now, they would just move into the district and already know, and then wouldn't be a surprise. And then if it's too much for them, then they just want to move here and other families would move in. So but the whole purpose of tonight was to have that discussion to see how everybody thinks, what you've been hearing from the community, maybe figure out a way forward of how we're gonna get some input from the community, get everybody's thoughts and stuff like that, and
I think obviously you want something that'll pass, right? At the end of
Absolutely,
the day,
yes,
You want something that'll pass, and I think, I pulled the precincts, I pulled the votes, where they all fell last time.
Mhm.
And to get those for me, I looked at those, I'm gonna evaluate those, but at the end of the day, I need to get out and talk to the people, right? What's their appetite? What is it that they want, right? And that's what this is about.
mhm.
So I think, there are good arguments for both. I mean, I get that. I've done both. I've had continuing, I've had 5 years, I've had 10 years. It's like, it's what does the community want? What does the district want long term? Like I said, things don't get cheaper. I mean, it's not like we put this on and we'll never ask for it again. If it's a 5-year, we're gonna ask for it again in 5. I've never been in a district where, we had a 5-year and oh, things are great, we don't need anymore. I mean, things are okay, but things get more expensive, right? So it's continuous, really. But I just think, there are good reasons for it. I mean, and what you said was well put. I mean, you don't know, people are coming in, but I think at the end of the day, my job is to talk to people and get feedback from you all who live here. What are you hearing? We can do the surveys, there's a lot we can do to figure out in a short period of time what we want to put on.
And then we can make a decision based on facts and not feelings. I might feel one way, but the facts might show that that's not probably the best way for the entire district, so.
Yeah, because it's never a good feeling, to go into the last bite of the apple, if you will. So it's nice to get it passed on the next one as opposed to
The last
the last one.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, they pass more often in May than they do November. It seemed like whenever they were defeated, it was always defeated in November, but they seem to pass in May for whatever reason.
I think that's one of the things that you had said initially.
Yeah.
So currently, the district has 5 continuing levies that are already out there every year. So, and it looks like both times the income tax was on as a continuing, it did fail.
Right.
For me, I mean, while I see the need for the continuity, I would be more willing to do, 5 or 10, 7, something like that. Probably not a continuing, just based on past performance and kind of where we already are with our continuing levies. That's me, but I would love to hear from the people and hear what they want, hear what they have to say. And yeah, see if there's anybody that has opinions. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and for some reason, so if you look at the polling from the income tax results from in March, we had a high turnout from the Bethel Township folks, but then for some reason it dropped off. So we were getting anywhere from 28.6% to 32% of the registered voters came out and voted from Bethel Township, and then it dropped drastically in Huber to 12 and 13.5%. And so I kind of wonder there too, if they all just didn't get the word, or, it's kind of a oddball election or whatever type of thing too. So, and the way I looked at it, I tried to use it as my personal life. So I get a retirement from the military, and it comes every month, every year. And they don't come and tell me that, well, in 5 years, we're going to reevaluate where you're not going to get it. If they did, then when I go to buy a new car, or if I go to buy, to upgrade the house or something, my decision making would be totally different if I didn't know if I was always going to get it. So that was another plus or bonus for the continuing, is that offers up that stability where we know it's a steady state, so we can look at these other things like the dedicated services or whatever else we want to do, because we know we don't have to pull it back if it doesn't pass, because that's the first thing we're gonna do, is if it doesn't pass, right now it's what, $2.5 million that we get in.
Yeah.
Then whatever that's,
Yeah.
Whatever that's gonna be.
And I anticipate it going up every year, so, yeah.
Right, and then when Carriage Trails 2.0 comes on online, the same thing
I
there.
mean, you're right. I mean, if you know what's coming in, it's obviously easier to plan.
Right.
Because obviously the first thing that happens when you start to lose money, and what do? You reduce staff.
Right.
I mean, that's your largest, it's your largest expense, where it's a people business. So I mean, that is, obviously never a good thing, but reductions in force is what triggers a lot of cost savings.
And at the end of the day, it just hurts the students. So I understand cause I pay taxes here and my taxes go to support the school and everything, and I get a choice in this as well. But if I get mad at us and I say, well, that's it, I'm not gonna pass the levy, then that just means that my kid's going to be in 2 hours of study hall again because we didn't have any classes to offer or things like that. So I guess I'm just trying to stir up a conversation about things to think about going forward, keeping in mind it's for the entire school district and it's for the students and not for personal gain or personal opinion or control or nothing like that. Because at the end of the day, we're all here for the students. That's our main focus. But we only have 2 shots at this, hopefully one. We have to get it right. But again, as we see more people moving in, my fear is that they're going to be, oh no, I can't take one more tax and then to try and get this thing to pass maybe ever again. I don't know. Whereas we have an opportunity perhaps to pass it now, and then it's just known as they come in. And then we never have to worry about that part of it again. I don't know what else we'd have to do for money generating for buildings and stuff like that. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But
Well,
for right now,
I'm hoping to have the impact aid surveys out December 2nd. There's a letter I have you sign. And so we'll send those out. I did reach out to, I think her name was Jackie, at to see about construction funds with impact aid, and it's a competitive grant and things of that nature. So I am looking at other options.
You got the expedited local piece too, correct? On the funding.
Yeah, so trying to figure out if we can make those kind of things happen too. So, but yeah, I just, we look good now, we have money, right? But we were way, in my personal opinion, the district was way behind in getting the facilities open that we needed, getting the staffing that we needed, and I think that's why we saw a lot of turnover and a lot of teachers leaving, and as well as there were classes that were overflowing and things of that nature. So we're getting there. I think we still have things to fix.
Sure, we got things to work on.
But, yeah.
Like I said, this place, reason I wanted to stay, this place got great bones, great
Mhm.
people, and just needs some consistency. And I think, I challenged administrators the other day of, what does it look like when we offer classes, right? Like podcasting, for example, those kids love that class. I got a kid that works that makes money in podcast. I mean, but you don't have to offer the same things you offered 20 years ago. I mean, so, challenge me with, challenge your kids, give me a good schedule, give me good electives, give me those things that they're interested in, that they can use, and, they can make money, they can get jobs, those kinds of things, right? It's like, so, yeah, I mean, we can do the levy cycle, we're going to do the best we can and be frugal, but at the same time, try to make this, an elite district. I mean, why not? I mean, be the best of the best and move forward. But, again, you can't get ahead of the people, you need their support. So.
Well, I'll add that, and I won't say this as eloquently as Rachel did, but, based on the facts, I will say that, because we've had success with the renewals for the 5 years of the earned income, that would be my preference, because you can plan as well for long-term, knowing that's going to come back up in 5 years or 7 or 10. And you can plan that it's going to come back, and you can be thinking it's just going to be something, and really we don't even really see it. It just comes off the top of your check and it's just gone and you get used to living, you know, with what you have, when that comes in that way. So hopefully, this would be a good approach. And I also don't want to be a person who, much like Mr. Murphy said earlier, I don't want to take a vote away from anybody else. So by leaving it as continuing, you know, we've taken that voice away from those people to have say on where their income gets spent. And I don't want to be in that role. I want them to have that opportunity. Maybe it's 5 years, maybe 7, maybe 10, but those are just kind of my short takeaways from everything.
Understand, and those are good points. And I will say, the only thing that makes me nervous is we know the community we have right now is very Bethel. It's very supportive. We don't know what the new people are gonna be like. And that's one of the fears I have is. that
Hopefully they'll
it's
see that
really-
it's for them. You know, I don't know how it could be. I don't know that how they could not see it anything other than that. It's for, you know, they're part of the Bethel community and that income is coming for the Bethel community, for the staff, students, for the school district. I don't know how they could not see it that way, but I understand that, some people might not.
Yep, and I'm with you. I hope the same. I hope they love our school just like we love our school. Carriage Trails, though, the starting home prices for those guys are around that 130, 150, 175, and these guys are coming in at 450. So that's the other thing that makes me a little bit nervous about anticipating or expecting or assuming that they're going to be okay with supporting the school and then taking out that out of their income.
Well, to Natalie's point, what you said was right. You have your taxes coming out and they just come out. And if it's continuing, it's the same thing. They just come out and that's what your budget is. And it's never gonna get cheaper to educate our children. And I'm worried about the houses that come in. If we do a 5-year and it's defeated because people coming in don't wanna do it, we're losing a large amount of a big chunk of money that we can use to the benefit of our children and to the benefit of the district. You know, I was thinking about it this week. Huber Heights, you know, their motto, it's everywhere. Come grow with us, you know, at the expense of everybody. Come let us eat your county so we can grow. And I was just overcome with the idea because Bethel needs to put out there Bethel, where the student is the heart of the community, because that's what our community is based on. Our community is based on this school district, this rising generation, the kids who grow up here, the families who make this their home. Come grow your kids with us. And that's what we need to do. And to do that, unfortunately, it takes money. I mean, I'm a single person, you know, I can't retire because I can't live on one income, but I want to stay in the township. I want to stay in my ratty old 111-year-old farmhouse that is in terrible shape, because this is a great community. And we're gonna lose. I just have real trepidation about not having this a continuing based on the historical issues with Huber Heights people not passing levies, and the people coming in have no connectedness to the district. They're buying a very expensive home in a district they've heard about, and holy cow, why are my taxes going up $800 when I moved into this home? And we can't educate their children if we can't have something to educate them with. We're gonna need schools, we're gonna need staff, we're gonna need equipment, we're gonna need facilities. And as much as we wanna say, everybody keep your money and make your decisions, it has to be collected. What is gonna build the best district for our kids? And we're frugal. We have one of the lowest, we teach our kids with one of the lowest amount of monies in the whole state with outstanding outcomes. So we are not spendthrifts. We are not spending your tax dollars frivolously. And so I guess all we can do is tell people this, that we do more with less money than most of the people in the state. And could you support us? And don't you think it's worth it? That's all. That's just how I feel. And you know, maybe I'll have to work a second job, I don't know, but I feel that it's so important, and we need to do it before 1,400 more homes go in,
And then they decide.
and then they don't wanna do it.
Right, and then they're making the decision for us and we're already here. And another thing, I was one of the ones, I talk a lot of times at different Huber Heights council meetings, please don't do this, please don't do us, anti-annexation. Still don't like it, I mean, if I had the choice today to stop it, I would.
Yeah.
But we don't, that ship has sailed, and these guys are gonna be bringing in even more money. So this is an opportunity where we can add more podcasting classes, or we can buy some cool scientific equipment so they can have microscopes or whatever it is. We can think big, we can do more for our kids based off of that, having the more money come in than we probably ever could imagine with what we're doing right now.
You know, you know, Bucky's is on hold because they have a beef with New Carlisle, right? So Huber was gonna rob Peter to pay Paul to get Bucky's, and then they're gonna make us pay for what they took from Paul. And so we're gonna end up with infrastructure levies on top of everything else, and people aren't gonna wanna pass it, but we need to fund our school and let Huber worry about the mess they've created and let them fund it themselves, but we need to take care of our district and our students, and we need to do it proactively and make a stand. You can take our land, but you're not gonna take our kids.
And Huber Heights hasn't passed a levy in 20 years, so that's how they feel about education. And whenever people are moving here and they're told that you might go to Huber, they're like, oh, no, they wanna come to Bethel.
What do you think
So-
they're buying?
Oh, I know,
Why do you think they're buying a naked piece of land that they can't even live on for 2 years?
Right, but they come right here and enroll.
Because, you know, they pony up with their stuff because they wanna be here because of what they know we can do. And to do it, we have to have the funding.
Yeah, because realtors will call my office and ask that question.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So you know, the other thing too, you know, we're gonna go through the projections and enrollment studies and things like that, but if you think about, you know, my expectation would be if I moved into any district, I would support it, right? It's just, that's who I am. I was with the district.
But we're in education, right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, you've got kids, that's one thing, but you know, the other thing too, is the price of these homes, what I'm interested to see is, you know, if you're buying a $450,000 home or a $600,000 home, I raised 4 kids. When my kids were little, I wasn't buying a $500,000. In fact, I'm not buying one now. Point being is, I don't know there's going to be kids in that home.
Yeah.
Or little kids, to say the least, right? I mean,
Right.
our enrollment this year, we've had more kids enrolled to middle school than we had the elementary. You know, our 8th grade's over 200.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, you know, and I did the graduation day for the senior class, I think it was 146. We're at like 208 in the middle, and 8. So, you know, it's hard to say. You gotta really dig into that and extrapolate some of that data. So when moving forward, we can make those decisions. But I mean, to your point, you know, if you're buying someone's higher priced house, they don't necessarily come with small children. They may come with no children. And I don't know how supportive they would be if they have no kids. Do they want to pay an income tax? I mean, some do.
And if they're in education.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are things, because
We
we
can't
don't
afford
see,
to.
because we have.
We can't afford
I've been told what's down here too is the 70-75 interchange. So those people might be the commuters. It might be the Columbus and the Cincinnati people who don't want to live in Cincinnati or Columbus or pay their those kind of city taxes. They want to be out in the country or, you know, a little bit more rural, but
We're not
still
country.
have, you know, still have that. So we might
Yeah.
just get a whole bunch of teleworkers and stuff like that. And that was our point too, like just different conversations come up throughout the week and stuff about everybody keeps saying, oh, we'll build a new elementary in Carriage Trails 2.0. Well, how do we know we even need one for that very reason that you're buying a $500,000 home? There's chances are that you're not coming with babies and kindergartners. You're coming with grown kids or middle high
No
school or
kids,
no
yeah.
kids or yeah. So these are all things that I think, and everybody keeps bringing up all these great points that, you know, I didn't think about this, or you didn't think about that, or whatever, that I think that the more that we discuss and start getting buy-in when I say buy-in, just whatever we do to keep the income tax, whether it be continuing renewal 5, 10, 15, 20 or whatever, but I just hope that people just don't shut it out just because in the past that 5 years has always been good enough. Whereas I think tomorrow it's not going to be good enough. I don't think that that's going to be in the best interest of the district to take that kind of risk. To lose out on the opportunity to collect that kind of money to support the school.
I was just gonna add that I think we should have some faith in the community that they will recognize the need and the part of continuing with a renewal of a shorter time frame. I think, and I can say that I've stood at numerous Huber Heights council meetings stating that why did they have to annex our property? They had so much going on and they were doing well and growing that there's a fine line that you can step over and it looks like you're really greedy. You've forgotten everything else. And I don't want by, totally considering a continuing levy for us to look like we're being greedy and not, and just like abandoning the values that, we would hope that everybody would give us the consideration to have the courtesy to come back and tell us the good stuff you're doing, continue to blow to our own horns and tell us good things so that we can know that we are investing in good stuff. To see those riches without looking like we're greedy. We just want all your money.
I think that goes back to Reagan's point. That was a good point too, that we're already educating them on half of what it's supposed to cost to educate them. So we're already doing something here.
I mean, we're not
Right,
frivolously
right.
putting programs in place that
Oh,
don't
no,
bring.
we're way below the state average.
Yeah,
Educate for.
Yeah.
and our results are good, are very good. And we
Make
can
it
use
better.
this money to bring in some on-site tech, and we can use this money to build our programs and build our staff and offer PD and improve our facilities and our performing arts. I mean, we can do this and it doesn't happen with, a magic wand. It doesn't, I wish, but it doesn't.
And that's the other thing too, is we can start dreaming bigger. So like right now, we hit the kids who want to go to CTC, so they have that opportunity. And then we hit the kids who want to get college credits before they graduate, hit that. But then we're missing out on those other kids that they don't fit in the CTC, and they don't fit into college. We can also be capturing those guys, whether it be through bringing some more programs in-house, whether it be welding. I mean, you're not going to duplicate what CTC has, but we're like Tip City. They build little homes. They build those tiny homes every year, and they do that. Those are all things that we could open up, tremendously. And I come from a small rural school. My graduating class is 120 and they're down to 60 now. But they have all of these, those big turbine windmills and stuff that brought in a whole bunch of tax money. They have a field house that is phenomenal. They have an indoor, place to play football, and they have weights indoors, and they open up to the community, and it's enormous, but it's an entire field house. And those kinds of things is what also more money brings in to do better, to incorporate in the music and the fine arts and the sports and the academics and all that, and real world opportunities and setting our kids up. Because the goal, even though we haven't done a strat plan yet, I mean, at the end of the day, our mission is to make productive citizens. That is, at the end of the day, that is our vision, that is our mission, is to produce productive citizens. And we have to hit all those kids to make that happen. We can't forget about one segment of them.
In the beginning of the year, initially I was more of the thought of doing the renewal. And since it was already on the ballot and we had the discussions leading up to the election, the vote for it, I had my mind changed to where it made a lot more sense for it to be continuing. I've heard the arguments about it taking away power from the community, but I also heard, which I didn't know previously, how horribly it impacts the school when it doesn't pass, and what, like, just how bad that was. And Then there's other arguments that, for new people moving into the district, it takes away their voice because they're not able to vote whether or not they want the levy, income tax levy. I don't think that's a good argument. More than anything, the power of your vote is who's sitting at this table. It makes a world of difference what the people sitting at the table can do with the money that's coming in. And who's sitting at the head of the table or the head of the school makes a world of difference. So I think, and for the treasurer to be able to plan is just huge. So I think it would be excellent to have a continuing levy. However, we're coming up to the edge of the cliff. It seems to me that the community might not be ready for continuing. The thought I just had was maybe put it on for a 7-year renewable. We've got Mr. Nutter for 3 years. He can educate, we can have discussions, we can every quarter or every other month or something have on the agenda to discuss and communicate with the community about the importance of passing this, and then put it on sometime during that 7-year period if we get it passed. I don't know your thought on that, whether just having a few months from now till March as a chance to campaign, or buying yourself a couple of more years.
Yeah, I would like it, like I said, I know we're running out of time, right? But
Yeah.
I'd like to know what, like, if I pull the precinct, not many people voted in carriage trails, but most of those precincts passed. There was a more turnout in township precincts, but they failed. So the question, wasn't here, I don't know what the, discrepancy was, what
Sure.
the campaign was. But at the end of the day, you want something the voters feel good about, because voting is an emotional response. I've said this my entire life, right? It's not, for most people, it's not whether it's the $1 a day I can afford, it's how I feel. Like, do I want to give them my money? Like, I can afford it, are they doing a good job? Am I happy? And then, they go into your vote, right? I think if the community, we've got a month, we got 3 weeks.
Yeah.
To figure out, it's holiday season, we got Thanksgiving, Christmas, to figure out if there's a clear cut avenue, right? And I think, I got no problem, continuings are great, but I got 5s, one run 5, every day is an interview, right? You do a good job, you should redo the 5. But it is a problem if, people just don't have kids or they don't want to vote for it. Who suffered? Well, you can plan to grow, then you also have to plan to reduce, right? People lose jobs, offerings get less. So I think if I knew that you could get if there was a clear cut support for a continuum, that would be great. Or, is it 5 and we explain why? To your point, I got no problem talking about levies, once a quarter, or, I think here's where we're at. This is why we need
Yeah,
it.
and my thought is like that gives the community to bring their arguments against it, and for us to be able to explain or speak, have a discussion with them about it. But we don't have time for that right now, it doesn't seem.
And we'll say, and I think you guys attended, so at the conference, there was several briefings that they had where people were going through this same thing, building facilities, needing the money and stuff. And it was one school, and I think it was Marion, it was like northwest of Columbus. And in 2018, they tried getting the levy to pass it. It failed horribly, and they had old buildings and stuff. And it was like a 75, 78 to 2030, whatever it was, but it was huge. And the key ingredient to all of this was education. It was to get to out into the community, to talk to them like Mr. Nutter was talking about, to go explain to them, you know, these are the things we're gonna do, or this is the vision that we have, or these are the things that we need, or this is what's going to happen if we don't. And then they were able, once they did that, and they brought people in, I mean, they had cards, so if you were afraid to talk in public or ask a question, just write out an index card and submit it, and then take it back, and then everybody would go and answer it and stuff, and so the whole community got involved. And the more they got involved, well, the next time it came on, they completely flipped it back the other way. And then it was, 74 and, 70, to pass. Yeah, that's it.
So there was another, I just had a thought, another argument against it that I had heard early in the year was that, so we get this continuing and then the school board can just willy-nilly increase it whenever they want. And yeah, and that was an argument against it, and come to find out that is completely wrong. Any increase or decrease would need to go on the ballot
Yep.
and be voted on.
And it's been on 0.75 since 1999.
And the lowest in the
Yeah,
county.
and then in 2021, I think, inflation was at 1.3, 1.4, and then in 22, it went up to 4 point something, and then, last year it was at 8%.
So
And for inflation rate, and nothing has changed, it's still stayed.
to the argument of having power to vote on that, if it was continuing, you still have the power if it's gonna be increased or not. You still have the power to vote whether it increases or not,
Right.
down the road.
Yeah.
Far down the road.
It is hard here to just say you don't have a place to go. Like,
Yes,
this is the focal point.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know, the rules that they don't like you to campaign for levies at schools, and you can't do it on your work day and things like that, but you know, a lot of places. A lot of levies I've ran before, you know, went to the barber shop, went to the grocery store, the gas station, the diner, I mean, that's where everybody's at. You know, you can answer all those questions and those types of things, it's a little more difficult. Here, because like I said, where do you go? You know, I see people all the time, but you know, talk to me.
You have to go to them.
Yeah, you gotta go to them, and, you know, you see them at events and whatnot, but I think, yeah, it's, that's what makes that a little bit more, and the rules have changed, obviously, too, about
How we can do it.
how much I can
Right.
talk about it.
Right,
you
and
know.
what we can say, I mean, I put that new auditor, the auditor states guidelines on what we can and cannot say. You know, we can only talk about the facts, just facts, ma'am.
To really-
So,
At OSBA, I went to a thing about that.
mhm. So,
Yeah.
a lot of things that were status quo in the past, we can no longer do, yeah,
There's certain things, it's not like it used to.
yeah, right.
So can our podcast class have a podcast about the levy?
No, because you're using district resources,
Outside, can
they can't use district resources.
but do you know how many kids have podcast stuff in our homes? in
Well,
this
that's
township?
different if they're
I
not
mean, can
using
they-
It's their
district,
own.
if
Can
it's
they get
theirs,
together and do
if
something
it's
like that?
theirs, but we can't use district resources.
You know, because it affects the kids. Some of these kids are adult voting age,
Mhm.
you know, and they know what goes on in their school and what they need and what they wish they had and what would help them. So if they were part of the process, and if they help canvass, if they help go door to door, if they help do these things. Teachers,
Oh, yeah,
you know, on their time, right?
I mean,
But we've gotta be asked to do it.
Yep.
Will you help us?
I'm sure we could get our members behind it.
You know, and so.
yeah, I see that to be not the issue.
I
It's
don't
the
either.
support of the staff and support of the community, the ones I've met, if you have a good reason, you can explain why you need something. I have not seen anybody say, we don't wanna help you.
Yeah.
That just hasn't happened here.
So Mike, you know, you've done this before, so our, you know. It would go off in May. Do we have time to make a viable push, a healthy
Oh, yeah, I
push
think
to
so.
do this
I
between
think-
now and May? That would,
I think you need to, I mean, you need to have a campaign and a. I would say a good campaign and a good advertisement as to why you need it. regardless of whether it's continuing or 5.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, you know, it's a 5, we don't say anything, so we should never assume.
Right.
But I want everybody to know, you know, what it is that we're doing here and what we want to do and what we have done and where we came from. And I think that part there, you know, I mean, I think community members should always know how things are going here, right? I think they should always know, got a question, ask me, you know, it's like, I think that part, is there a time to give that push? Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think we're tight on is what you want, what type of.
It's getting the
flag.
resolutions
It's
passed,
a
right?
resolution piece. We have plenty of time to get the word out, if you will, and have the conversations with people. I mean, like I said, I'm sure the staff will help, you know, I've had several, I was at Rotary and I've got people on Rotary that live in Bethel. And, you know, they want to help with the field house, they want to help with the levy, they want, you know, that you have time to put those together, those committees, you know, the levy, you know, you gotta get a couple chair people and you talk. And, you know, I mean, one of my best co-chairs was when I went to a district, she hated any levy. She was a huge advocate and I put her on the levy committee. She ended up being a co-chair, ended up working for the school, you know, years later after I left. But I mean, the point is that she didn't once she saw, and you know, somebody talked to her, you know, nobody would talk to her and explain anything. So she just had a bad taste around about school, but we have plenty of time to get the word out. And like I said, I don't think it's a hard, you know, I mean, our levy, you gotta understand too, levies, when they're passed, it's not like you collect more money, depending on what levy it is. I mean, it doesn't increase as a
Yeah.
inflation, you just,
Oh.
so we're doing a pretty good job. I think that this one's a little different because the more you make, the more, you know,
More,
earned.
right.
But it's like, we have plenty of time to answer your question. We have plenty of time to get a good solid message. I'm not worried about that. You know, the question is, what do they tolerate? What do they want? I mean, what does the community want? You know, we want to give them something that'll pass. And there's good reasons, and I understand all the arguments, either side of it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like, you know, oh, you don't want to do that, but oh, what do you want? We'll do, you know, I think you do the will of the people, but there's good reasons for continuing, and I also see reasons for a 5 year, I mean, and everywhere in between, so. But
Best thing about continuing is we'll quit nagging you about it.
Right.
they look, you know.
You won't hear, you won't hear that.
That's the levy fatigue,
Levy
right?
fatigue.
Yeah.
No more.
Yeah.
I know Hilliard just redid all there, they redid some restructuring, they got tired of going back all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just so people can make an educated decision when they go to the polls.
Yeah.
Based off of facts and not, well, I heard, just like my kid comes home and said, well, I don't know if I want to take that from CPC because I heard you gotta do this. Well, then who did you hear that from? Well, my buddy in the locker room. Oh, that's good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, you gotta get it out. It's a fun time. I mean, the campaigns are, to me, I find them interesting and fun. I mean, it's a chance to meet a ton of people and you get to actually explain the story, right? If you like it, great. You don't, well, it's what we do, you know?
And there is a lot of creative
We agree to
ideas.
disagree.
And there's a lot of creative ideas that we learned too at that conference about how people went about to get that word out, and superintendent's gonna be busy. He was the linchpin in all of them.
That's why we like it.
It's
Be the idea of fairies, just keep bringing the ideas and.
a lot of nights.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like I said, it's a good time. Enjoy it. Enjoy life.
I was gonna ask, I'm curious, did anybody take note or I haven't really done any research, but I remember watching on election night how the school levies were going. Has anybody put together any stats on that in general, how they went?
Bassett does that every year. It's
Yeah.
a USBA. You
Yeah,
can get that.
they
I-
talked about it at the conference and.
I don't think many.
It wasn't,
there
it wasn't so good this round.
No, there was a
It
lot of
didn't go very
failures.
well in March either, so, yeah, so. But it didn't go well in November, is my understanding, but I don't have the stats, I would have to, yeah, Bassett does it.
I wanna say they
OSBA
said
does it.
like 75% failed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would-
it was
It was
a,
significant.
it was a pretty,
Yeah. Significant.
hefty
I know
number.
the ticker going across the screen, there's a lot that came up that.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
like,
But I know they didn't, I
statewide.
know they didn't
They
do
did
well.
talk about it in several of the things that, like,
Yeah. And I was, as they were flashing through that evening, you know, you try to do, oh, Mountain Union or Mad River or, trying to think of another school, but, don't know if there was somebody in Clark County. And then, yeah, you were trying to read, you know, was it a direct renewal or
Yeah.
2 years
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah.
so I was trying to get
Yeah.
a handle on all.
Well, I will say that, and going to my treasurer meetings, talking to my treasurer friends, there are a lot of districts that's asking for new money because they've run out of ESSER funds, right? So all
Oh,
those
yeah.
positions they created with ESSER funds.
What, I should have done that. That's not what it was for.
Right, so, you know, so now they're all out asking for new money, and I think that's what's, you know, I think that's also another thing to sort of toot our own horn about, we're not asking for any new money, you know? And so, yeah, so I don't know, I know Howard Fleeter does an analysis every year of how those kind of things go, and so I'll ask him, I know he was doing a presentation at the Capitol Conference too, so. I can reach out to him and see if we can get something from him, because he does it for the state and OSBA and OASBO as well, so.
I think we agree that we have different opinions on which is the best or whatever, but the bottom line is, we just want what's best for the kids in the district.
And I think that we all do agree that it's needed.
Yeah, but.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of
How
how do we?
what are we
yeah,
gonna,
right,
how, what's
right.
it
How do
going
we
to
execute?
I was
Yeah.
gonna just say that now we have to agree on is how to go about.
Yep.
To solicit how the whole community feels. about
You're gonna
the
go
district.
to every.
Email us.
Yeah, email surveys, I don't know, if you got any ideas, like going forward, what?
I do.
He's gonna go
I
talk
do.
to every
Go
single
to every
person.
house. See y'all soon.
And then they had.
Oh, yeah.
I've done coffee.
Coffee chats and that kind of stuff with superintendents, yeah.
And then to get the feel from everybody in the district and find out too, like, why we only had 12% and 13% from in Parktown, Carriage Trails and that area. And they didn't come out.
I'd be interested to see what those precincts did on the Huber side of the elections. to
Well,
see-
maybe they didn't have anything else to vote on too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
So they
sometimes
didn't,
you
so it
just don't
didn't
know.
matter,
I don't
yeah.
know. Like I said, we didn't really advertise much. We just had.
Yeah.
Right.
Discussions here. We didn't really just left it up to everyone and which route they want to take. But so going forward, I mean, is there, oh, go ahead.
We could, maybe we can approach, I just thought there is a place, the old, golf course on
Oh,
571 that has the event center. Maybe they would allow us to have a little
Like a town hall type of
shindig
thing, or-
town hall,
Just have to be careful with the time, right?
yeah.
During the day, I mean, like,
Mhm.
Well, we'll,
Can't
I
be
mean,
during our workday.
Well, that was the other thing.
no, it's
too,
not
is-
during the workday,
what
but,
we used to do, we used to have the coffee chat, think through the lunch.
yeah, but you don't need, you could do something different in the afternoons or
Evenings.
evenings, you know.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas. I will, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is good. I'll go to work on some suggestions. I'm gonna start talking to people too. I don't want to have this meeting first.
Okay.
Just get your guys' opinions. I agree. Everybody agrees we need it.
Yeah.
It's just what type.
What's it gonna look like?
That's fair.
Okay.
So, anything last
No.
parting thoughts?
So, so what's the rest of the plan? We come with ideas, other data we've collected to the workshop meeting in December on the 10th. Does that give you enough time to turn around and finish writing up the resolution so that we
So
can?
I'm gonna see if I can reach out to the state and get their estimate now, if that's plausible, or if they need to know the term, right? If they need to know the term before they can give me an estimate, then I'll have to wait. But if they don't, I don't think they do. I'll just ask them how much 0.75 will bring in, because it went up from 2.3 to 2.5, and so we'll see what their estimate is, and then I'll be able to turn around a resolution in 7 days. If I get that information first, yeah.
Okay.
So the 17th 's okay. You get on the 17th.
Yeah.
For the first one, yeah.
Would they be able to do like okay, well, what would a continuing, or would it matter? What would a continuing look like? What would a 10-year look like? What would a 5-year look
Yeah.
like? And give you like some
Oh, no, they just
options?
tell you the collections for 1 year.
I
And
see.
Yeah,
So
that's,
then
they
you
just
you
give
do
you
a
an
math.
estimate.
Gotcha.
They certify that you will bring in 2.575, whatever, you know, so, yeah, and that's what's placed on that's what's put in the
Okay.
resolution. And then that's what's
I
on,
see.
that's what goes to the
Okay.
Board of Elections, so.
I see.
It doesn't guarantee that we'll get that
Right.
much, and
Right,
it doesn't say that we won't get more. So, yeah,
okay.
it's just their guess,
Job
their
change.
estimate, yeah.
And
So-
then we just have to wait to figure out as more homes start becoming
Right.
built and.
And what
feel
they're
for that.
selling.
Yeah.
Right, because, I know we got some information that said that they were selling 7 bedrooms.
Yeah.
That's not cheap house.
That's not a cheap house, I mean,
And
so,
when they say starting at 250, it'll be 5,
And then-
5.5 by the time they're done.
I've been trying to find a house in Miami County, because I'm telling you the taxes are up.
So then, will it take a year after they move in before then we start thinking?
Yeah, and, so because
So-
taxes
so
are
they move
collected
in
in arrears.
In
yeah.
arrears, so then they move in and then it's still, so it could be 3 years.
And with
someone wanted-
CT2, Carriage Trail
Uh-huh.
2.0, they're doing a completely different way of collecting, right?
Yeah,
So,
they're doing the.
I'm
CRA.
worried if it's gonna turn into ones like I've had in the past where on June 30th, I'm walking into an office to demand a check. So I hope not, but so send who?
Send me.
I'm pretty good at doing that one. I've done it before, don't worry, yeah. So,
But
yeah.
it's totally just-
it's, I love the fact, because I've dealt with tips and things like that a lot, but it's so much easier and more efficient when it comes from the auditor's office, so.
Yeah.
This
And I love
new
that-
creation that Huber Heights is doing, I don't know. I don't know,
And I got calling the developer too, someone from call me back,
yeah,
so.
It's another key piece.
Yeah.
yeah,
Them and the mayor.
Mhm.
So.
But yeah, that, I think, and to your point, what's the plan? I think get as much feedback as you can. I'm gonna start to work on a few plans now. I'm gonna start talking to people too.
Yeah.
I've got places I go that are organizations that think they attend, they live here. I talk to a lot of parents, talk to people that don't have kids here. So we'll see. But I think, like I said, we have plenty of time to put a good campaign together. It's just a matter of what we're a little squeezed for is what y'all want to do as far as length.
that's all we
We
need.
can talk more about it on the 10th, what more information, and make a decision by the 17th.
That's a like a good plan.
Sounds
Knock it out of
like
the
a
park.
plan.
Yeah, okay. Does anybody else have any?
We're timing contractions, sorry. Being due on Thursday, but my son tried to call. She may not make it to Thursday, so we're waiting. So my son's freaking out a little bit,
He'll
sorry.
be all right.
He'll be all right.
No, we'll have a good track.
Do you have any public participation?
No,
No.
Can I say something? I didn't put it in, but.
Sure. But up here so we can hear you.
Public about, because I didn't know there was gonna be this much communication on the levy and that. I just want to remind the board that there was a lot of pushback on the continuing in a very short time. And it went down big. And it went down big because of the people in Bethel Township, not Carriage Trail, because they didn't know, or maybe they wasn't voting, like you said, but the people here in the township pay attention to that. And I see both sides, I do, but I'm also a constitutionalist, and it's all about my vote. And a lot of people feel that way too. And there is, like you read them, Rachel, how many that's already continuing. And I think if you add them all up, Bethel has about 11, not 11, but about 9 levies, and over half of them are continuing. There's only a couple of them that are renewal, and people just don't want their vote taken away. And they felt last time, the previous board was shoving it on out the door. They were like, here you go, because we got voted out, here you go, we're gonna put this on as continuing. They dumped it in your lap. You guys didn't have a whole lot of time, but you did get the pushback. And it was a small group out there that pushed back very hard, very quickly. And you don't have a lot of time this time either to educate and maybe talk about some of this and get both sides out there, but I think you should poll the community because the community
Yeah.
spoke pretty
Oh,
loud.
I agree with
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah,
The
the
community
community,
last
yeah,
March,
we're not denying that at all.
last March, this past March,
Right.
when it was on the ballot, they spoke pretty resoundingly against that.
Yeah, I looked
continually.
at the results.
And that's what we're
We
seeing.
definitely want to hear people's
Yeah,
opinions.
absolutely.
We
Yeah.
want to hear
From the
what,
whole district.
Yeah, we're not shoving this on them. We
No,
want-
no,
You know.
that's
Yeah.
what happened last
Yeah.
time. The old board
Mhm.
just kind of went, as they went out the door, dumped it on you guys. And they just thought nobody was going to pay attention. But there's a small group that does, and that small group can be loud.
So that's why I said you should always explain.
Mhm.
So before you decide, you've got some time. I wanted to say, I'm not sure I'll be at the work session, so.
I was gonna
wanted
ask
to-
you anyway.
Well, I know, but. So I just want you to really think about the continuing and the renewal, because I have been out talking to the community and even the last time, and they don't have very good taste in their mouth about that. And you guys can't take it personal that hey, we don't want to give you the money because we don't like you, or we don't think you're doing a good job, or we don't like what you
It doesn't hurt
said.
us, it hurts the kids.
It isn't. But yet, it's not the kids' money either, it's the parents. And, things are turning around and getting better, and maybe people will be more willing, but right now, inflation, people want
Yeah.
to feed their kids.
Yeah.
And you come and say, hey, we're just gonna make this continuing and you're not gonna have a say-so on it. They're not, I know there's.
No, nobody's saying that. That's
Right.
what the
Yeah.
discussion's for.
Right.
Well, that's why we want to hear from the other.
And that's why I'm saying, you need to
The
get out
phone
and get this out and
yeah.
talk to some of the people, because, and like you said, we have no community.
Right.
So it does take going out individually and talking to people. But that's what we're used to doing here in Bethel.
Yeah.
We're used
You
to
have to
getting out and
go-
knocking on doors and making phone calls and things like that. So that's what will have to be done, and that's all I need to say.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Donna.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
interesting evening, let's say.
Thanks for staying.
Glad I showed up. Very complicated situation, I realize that. As John pointed out, voting is emotional. But you think you're getting a good deal or bad deal, or you're being taken advantage of. And it's not your fault. Believe me. But, go back to my statements a little while ago. I said no annexation without representation. 250 years ago in Boston, there was no taxation without representation. I, as a resident, feel I've lost my representation. So I feel very shorted. So why should I be taxed? So just on that emotional side of it, I know there's more to it. It's very, very complicated. But, the residents can sit there and go, I didn't support the annexations and the developments in Huber. So the percentage of students in this school is probably 50% Huber right now, and obviously it's gonna go up with 1,400 more houses. So why should I support something that's happening in another community that they decided for me to do? And I know it's not your fault. I'm sure maybe, I don't know if any of you raise your hand if you said, I'm glad there was annexation. I'm glad there was
Yeah.
this big development. And you're trying to make the best out of a bad situation. I understand that. But just on an emotional level, I'm telling you, we've been battered, bruised, and bleeding from this for 20 years. We feel emotional about it. We feel like we frustrated over it. And again, it's not your fault. It's Columbus. They've allowed these rules and regulations to come around because of the political, the ambitions and of the developers and the expansions and all this other stuff. So I'll say 20 times, it's very complicated. I don't have the answer for you, but I'm just telling you, it is an emotional, voting is very emotional. I feel like I've been abused. I feel like I pay my taxes. I've sent 3 kids through college. They've got their master's degree, all 3 of them. I've done my job. But now I don't feel like I've got a voice anymore. It's frustrating as hell. I'm sorry. It's just frustrating. So I don't know what you can do about it. I know you've got your agenda. You've got to keep this is your school.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it moving forward and doing the best you can with the cards you're dealt.
Yep.
But
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do.
the cards are stinking. You got a 2 and a 3-year-old. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's in that there is no executive session. So can I have a motion to? Oh,
I thought we, no.
no, not tonight.
No, not tonight. Okay. This is just had so much. fun.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna pace ourselves, how much time we're spending together.
Just kidding.
So can I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Well, thanks, Natalie.
Any discussion on that? All right, will you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Beast.
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
I have 9:49.